I'm hearing the story more and more. People are fed up. Bring that orange fella back. ASAP.
So, like many Americans, up until recently, I did not care about politics. Quite honestly, I didn't even vote until 2020. I've ended friendships over views that are just not okay. Why do I have a college degree and I make decent money and I'm living with family? I can't afford groceries. I can't afford my car payment. I can't afford anything. My parents have to help me, quite honestly, and I'm going to be 30 years old. I really want to know, this is my question for the people that think that this country is okay. What are you watching? What algorithm are you on to think that this country is okay? What job do you have? What do your bills look like? What is your income? Like, I really want to know, because I am just lost. I am so confused.
I mean, why are you here? There must be a reason for you to be here.
Yes, I'm here to fight for truth and justice in the American way.
You're going to end up fighting every elected official in this country.
Sure you don't really mean that, Lois?
That chart's a couple of months old, and if you want to really see some...
Donald, you must move your head.
Shenzo, you died, and I'd never got the chance to say goodbye.
Donald, I don't say goodbye. You need to remember your training. Move your head. I cannot explain. I must go.
Wait, Shenzo, if I never see you again, then and see you later, Space Cowboy.
But you will see me again, because there's one last thing that I must do.
Months old, and if you want to really see something that's said, take
Thank
you, Shenzo.
I'll guard the roads and I'll guard the skies.
Look, I gotta get some. Look at that stuff. This is what I want. Just have it. We gotta get it.
My mom just got a bag of that, actually.
Is it good stuff? Good?
She says it's the best.
Is that the best?
She says it's the
best. If
best.
it is, I'll be in Washington, D.C., hopefully in the Oval Office. I'll send for popcorn. Okay?
Appreciate that.
Good morning. It is 5:30 a.m. if you're on the East Coast. It is 2:30 a.m. if you're up late with us on the West Coast. Donald Trump is on the verge of returning to the White House at this hour. The former president speaking to supporters earlier this morning, claiming victory, surrounded by family, telling supporters that they made history. The NBC Decision Desk has not yet called the presidency for Donald Trump, but realistically, we can say that Kamala Harris, the vice president, has no viable path to 270 in terms of electoral college votes at this point.
4 days to go. Hey, it's your guy to the 21st century, Nate Houseman here. Who else? Does anyone else have the jitters? Like, are the internet trolls and the so-called right-wing influencers and the so-called Republicans and the so-called chaos agents, just at each other's throats, giving each other conflicting information? I mean, I guess it's been that way for years, but it's getting really pronounced as we close in on getting President Trump in his rightful place again. We're going to go over that. If you find this content valuable, please give it a like on whatever platform you're watching on, either Rumble, YouTube, Kick, or Twitter. Share it with your friends and loved ones, and subscribe, whatever platform you're watching this on. Give me a follow on Twitter. Give me a follow on Rumble. Give me a follow on YouTube. Give me a follow on Kick. And I've got several ways that you can support the program and benefit yourself. But I want to go on a ramble, not so much a rant, just what I've been thinking today. I just been like online here and there, and a lot of voices I follow online on Twitter and Facebook and YouTube, they've been kind of disagreeing with each other and giving conflicting information. Like Hunter Light, who I've name dropped many times, who I think a lot of what he or she says with a grain of salt, but their track record on exposing PDF files in my state is pretty decent. They've been going on against Bitcoin for like the last couple months, really since the election, and I've always been kind of ensconced in the idea that Bitcoin is legit, like it's real, digital gold that has proven itself over time. We're going to talk about crypto later in the program. In my point of view, criminals, the criminal syndicate, that guys, they can use anything to launder money and move money. So, they can use Bitcoin, they can use XRP. Last week, I read an article about the Yakuza using Pokemon cards. Criminals are very fond of Federal Reserve notes. We saw that in Goodfellas. And I just feel like, unless you can fake and generate fake value with a crypto, which we'll see in a very long thread from last year on Twitter about Tether, it's gonna be really hard to move money. That's what really the Federal Reserve has been doing for like over 100 years. But that's just one example of the arguments I've seen online. There's also, if you're kind of clued into the fandom, menace, and nerd space on YouTube, there's been a big controversy over Goonergate, and Melanie Mack has stepped into it. Goonergate is, for the last, since woke became a thing in video games, the genuine fans and the conservative right wing have joined forces to try to expel and punish the woke mind virus in gaming. And now that AAA gaming is collapsing and indies are ascendant and the fans are winning and the grassroots are winning, now we've got a war between regular fans who appreciate beautiful women, beautiful female characters who are pretty fap-worthy. We got the religious right going at it, Goonergate. And as a born-again Christian, I'm very comfortable with people expressing their sexuality. It's something God created, and the problem with, porn is that it cheapens it. It turns sex into a product when it's supposed to be something more profound than that. But you can't just be bloodless and colorless about it. You gotta loosen up. You can't be so uptight, or else your head's gonna pop like a zit. What else is going on that's troubling me? There's the whole. I was watching Julie Green yesterday, and she said something about Elon Musk that gave me chills. Like she senses great evil in him. Like she talks to God. She's very spiritual. She knows what's God and the angels are saying. And Elon Musk has, earned a lot of people's trust by turning Twitter into a free speech platform. And I've been giving him the benefit of the doubt, but he's behind some things that are also very questionable, like Neuralink, turning people into machines, essentially. And Julie Green, she says, there's something wrong about Elon. Something like it's genuinely evil. And okay. It's just those sorts of things where it's like, we don't know who we can trust. And all of this is intensifying leading up to Inauguration Day. And we got the possibility that the deep state, we definitely know they're not going down without a fight. They're not just going to roll over. Like, they conceded Trump's victory in November. They didn't object during certification. But we know from the past, these people are vicious, evil criminals. We've established that they're going to gum up the works in Trump's second term. Like, they're slow rolling the confirmations of his cabinet nominees. They're going to try to start a war. I'm sure of that. Whether Trump can neutralize that or not, we have to see. But we also have to realize a lot of people are still, asleep when it comes to the evil in the world, and something drastic needs to happen to wake them up. COVID didn't wake them up. We're going to see if the fires in LA are going to wake them up. But you got to realize those fires, there's a lot of media attention, even both in the mainstream and on social media. You just know it's distracting people from something else going on. There are definitely sleeper agents in this country, like terrorist cells, foreign, military-aged, men from foreign countries that have illegally entered this country. We know, China has infiltrated a lot of our online infrastructure. The best thing we can do is pray. And one of the best things I've learned from Julie Green is learning how to decree and declare things in Jesus' name, and to pray in agreement with God. I didn't know for up until last year, I was like so uncertain, like, how do I actually do that? How do I actually pray what's right? And we've been given lots of good examples in the book of Psalms. There's the great story about American servicemen in Iraq. I forget which, unit in particular, but you can look it up on YouTube. Iraq veterans, Psalm 91, and they will tell you stories of how Psalm 91 saved their lives, either in direct combat or protected them during very dangerous patrols. So we have testimony from the recent past on the effectiveness of Psalm 91. And that extends, and that certainty, that reassurance extends to all the Psalms in the Bible. So if you want a good example of how to pray in agreement with God, read those. Practice reading them, kind of learn the language, learn what it means to take refuge in God, in the shelter of the Most High, and be reassured that things may look bad, but we could be sheltered like the Israelites were sheltered during the 10 plagues of Egypt. The plagues, we've all heard the story of Exodus. The plagues of Egypt did not affect the Israelites because they were in the land, they were in the territory of Goshen, and none of the plagues affected them. And especially the 10th plague of the angel of death. They were instructed to, put the sacrifice lambs and spread the blood on the doorways. We need to be protected, take protection in the blood of Jesus, the ultimate lamb. So let's get started on the news here. This is from Fox News. Government agencies concerned Trump inauguration, potential target for extremists, according to a report. So government agencies are cautioning that President-elect Trump's inauguration may attract violent extremists, especially those harboring election-related grievances, according to a new report. While no specific credible threats have been identified, agencies like the FBI, Secret Service, and Capitol Police authored a threat assessment asserting that extremists may view the inauguration as their last opportunity to influence the election results through violence. So, the threat assessment identified foreign terrorists, domestic extremists, or lone wolves who could pull off violent acts, including vehicle ramming attacks, bomb hoaxes, or swatting calls. And we saw what they're willing to do on New Year's Day and New Year's Eve. We saw the attack in New Orleans, and we saw the Cybertruck bombing in front of Trump Tower. So, and we established a couple weeks ago those two supposed perpetrators had ties to Fort Bragg, which is really enmeshed with the CIA. So, do we trust the CIA, the FBI, the Secret Service? Hell no. Do we trust the military? Well, it depends which members of the military, and which members of the military that Trump has vetted through his own intelligence network. We know in the past Trump has used his own spies to his own corporate spies to succeed in business in the very cutthroat world of commercial real estate. So he has experience in analyzing information. I want to read this tweet. By MJ Truth Ultra. And then we'll get started in earnest. There's a minister who foresaw the assassination attempt on Trump, and MJ Truth has this to say about it. The pastor who envisioned Trump's assassination attempt 4 months before it occurred has another vision. So Pastor Brandon Biggs, he says while praying, he had a vision of farming equipment on the East Coast. His vision included hundreds of men buying fertilizer at various locations not be detected. He saw massive dump trucks with 50-gallon drums filled with various chemicals to reenact what happened in Oklahoma City. He saw the fertilizer in a big dump truck, which looked like a massive construction vehicle. They made the front of the vehicle with strong armor and made it bulletproof. He saw men with vests on with explosives. They used the truck to ram through police and military barricades in D.C. He saw these men get through, but after being surrounded, they detonated their vests and left a massive crater and decimated the buildings near the Capitol. He said something about lone wolves in America, or sleeper cells. Various men all over towns. They weren't illegal immigrants, but white cargo vans with barrels full of fertilizer, and they were parked in various parking garages throughout New York City. They were planning to take out every Trump Tower and Trump golf course throughout America. All in the name of Qasem Soleimani, who Trump took out. I think he was the military leader in Iran, wasn't he? He states he saw more than 1,000 men from another country coming from dark tunnels underground to the surface to cause chaos, funded by the Biden administration to cause chaos in 10 major cities. So, MJ Truth Ultra's thoughts about this. This is a tough one. Did he really have a vision? Is he somehow compromised and or working to sow a narrative? I do know that our government, specifically intel agencies, use celebrities, musicians, politicians, and yes, pastors to create and or push certain narratives. I don't know that answer. All I can say is that psyops are real, and this could very well be a psyop to keep you home, to keep you afraid. I want to say Trump's inauguration is going to go well, and that everyone will be safe, but I don't put it past the deep state's desperation to try something. Narratives are being seeded left and right. Donald Trump and the Secret Service, as well as the military, need to make sure this event is safe. As far as this man's vision, take for it what you will, but I myself feel maybe he's not speaking on behalf of God. Take what he says with a major grain of salt. I think it's the same pastor who had a vision about XRP like 2 or 3 years ago, saying that it's going to be part of the new global economy. I've been dragging my feet on XRP. I finally went to my retirement account and put a buy order in for when it goes down to the next, when the price goes down to the earliest level of support. The charts have a parabolic rise going up the last couple of days, and parabolic rises always get corrected. So I haven't bought XRP yet, but the order is in, and we'll just see where it goes. But oh yeah, the mass casualty event. MJ Truth Ultra mentions this. This is concerning. Are they expecting mass casualties around Trump's inauguration? Let's see. This James O'Keefe video is 6 minutes long, so we'll not play it. But yeah, they've been talking about we got to remember about the mass casualty event that Congress is preparing for. I like Liz Crokin's idea that the mass casualty event is justice, like, a roundup of the criminals and PDF files in Congress, and we know at least Adam Schiff's probably one of them, but we're going to have to wait and see. I mean, a lot of these people deserve imprisonment and prosecution, but we don't trust the prosecutors and the courts after what's happened to President Trump. We don't know what all traps, weapons, bombs, dead man switches they have. So we can't go directly at the bad guys. We have to make them expose themselves and gather intelligence. Information is going to be our best weapon. In the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. So we need to give a lot more people eyes. How do we do that? We have to do it step by step. It's like a game of chess, or it's like a race between the Great Awakening and the Great Reset. We can't just tip our hand, go all in. We have to do it carefully, so that the enemy doesn't, detect our movements. That's what this whole operation has been about. We're still in the awakening phase, even after Trump's victory. So I'm really, really antsy and really anxious for, the justice phase. I'm very confident it's going to happen this year and during Trump's real term in office, but we're going to have to wait and see. So with that, if you want to support this channel, I got several ways to do it. You can go to my main website, natehausman.net, click on my link to buy some hats and t-shirts and mugs, or click on resources to click on affiliate links. This is the page in the bio of my Twitter account. So if you're watching on Twitter, click on there. Otherwise, if you're watching on YouTube and Rumble, I've got affiliate links in the description to all my sponsors. If you want to support yourself, if you want to support me and get some really great products and services for yourself. So got some tweets lined up. What do I want to read first, I wonder? Let's go over resisting MAGA. I have to do this because for some reason the Brave browser on my computer always drags its feet when I'm opening up a new tab on Twitter, so I have to click them this way. Brian Cates says, if Q was a psyop designed to protect the CIA, military-industrial complex, and international criminal syndicate, then it will go down in history as the dumbest fucking psyop in the history of psyops. And you can quote me on that. The Great Awakening is what it is. And Q took it to the next level, and I'll always be grateful for that. So take heart in that. I mean, Q has acquitted itself. Himself, herself, they, themselves, whatever you want to call it. Now, this is pretty interesting. Let's read this from Wayne Tech SPF. 1871 Corporation comms. So you've heard me talk about the United States Corporation. That's kind of a not so well-known conspiracy theory that the genuine United States of America government was replaced by the United States Corporation in 1871, and that's why we're under the control of this criminal syndicate. Let's read what this tweet says. Shocking. A senator just asked Besant, he's one of Trump's nominees, at the hearing that if the U.S. defaulted on its debt because our debt is unsustainable, the Bank of England would be the debt collector. Besant answered that he just learned of this a few days ago, and if confirmed, he would resolve that. They all know we have two constitutions, 1776 and 1871. For the unaware, the 1871 Constitution is what turned our country into a corporation. So let's actually listen to this. Okay, so that's Scott Bessent. He's the nominee for the Treasury Secretary. Now, Jeff Stein mentions Trump is encouraging Vivek Ramaswamy to take the Ohio Senate seat vacated by J.D. Vance's departure, per sources. Unclear what this would mean for Doge, which Trump picked Ramaswamy and Musk to lead in November. Send decision up to Ohio's governor. So yeah, Ohio's governor has the authority to replace a senator who didn't finish their term. So yeah, Ramaswamy and Musk stepped in it over the whole H-1B controversy. I wonder whether they really did and whether they want to bring it to people's attention. I kind of wonder if it was engagement farming, mix valid truths with exaggerations or half truths. That's engagement farming 101. That's trolling 101. That's, they wanted people to argue about that and get, make waves in the Twitter's algorithm. And maybe that's what all this really is. All this, infighting. Maybe they just want to farm drama and grow their audiences and get big on social media. I mean, that's what Ethan Van Sciver does. He's a member of the Pop Culture Fan Menace on YouTube. Big part of Comicsgate, part of the movement to bring up grassroots independent comics and take on the corporations and return artwork and entertainment to the audience. Ethan Van Sciver has turned his channel into a drama farm for attacking Eric July and other independent comic creators. Why is he doing that? Because he makes more money live streaming all that drama on YouTube and getting super chats than he does with his actual comics. I might have answered my own question. Actually, Raging Golden Eagle answered that question because he talked about that months ago. So, Pam Bondi, who a lot of gun tubers have a problem with because she has a somewhat concerning record on red flag laws. I know that much. But she's stellar in a lot of other areas. She's the nominee for Attorney General, I think. Pam Bondi refuses to say that Joe Biden won the 2020 election and says she saw firsthand what they did in Pennsylvania. So our incoming Attorney General knows the 2020 election was fortified. Think about that. The criminals must be nervous. That's Dick Durbin, Democrat weasel par excellence. Who does anyone with intellectual honesty, going to say yes to that. Now, Marjorie Taylor Greene, one of the few members of Congress who's actually elected, says this: drones are flying over the White House. Chinese drone manufacturer DJI has removed geofencing restrictions for sensitive government facilities like military bases and the White House. Now the Chinese are collecting data they shouldn't have from recreational drone operators, and our government is letting it happen. Chinese drones should be banned from our airspace, and they certainly should not be sold in the United States. Yeah, that's the whole reason why we're banning TikTok. Yeah, free speech is one thing, but spyware is another. Where was I? President Trump, this is from George or Behizzy, since President Trump promised to tariff Denmark if they didn't release Greenland, the Danish government now says it's entirely up to the people of Greenland if they want to join the United States. The art of the deal. Yeah, that's Trump's method. Open with something so over the top that what he really wants sounds more reasonable in comparison. He wants Greenland to be independent and not out of the control of Europe. Rasmussen report says, there's no question that the general doctrine of fraud vitiates the most solemn contracts, documents, and even judgments. This is a SCOTUS decision, United States versus Throckmorton, 98 U.S. 61 from 1878. Fraud is proved by showing that defendant's actions involve 5 separate elements. And I didn't get the whole thread there, but yeah, if we can prove fraud, which I'm sure we've already have on free speech media, I mean, a lot of the members of Congress are not really members of Congress. They shouldn't be there. And any laws they passed are null and void. DC Drano, referring back to the whole LA fires, California just held a special legislative session to coordinate the resistance to Trump's deportations. Ron DeSantis of Florida is now calling for a special legislative session to help Trump's deportations. Florida is the America of America, and he's responding to Florida's Voice. Governor Ron DeSantis announced a special session of the legislature to ensure all local governments help Trump's deportations. We're just gonna skim through most of these. Now, General Flynn has to say about the latest O'Keefe Media thing. O'Keefe Media Group exposes former FBI special agent and self-described spy hunter giving tell-all on Defense Department's plan to sabotage incoming Trump administration. I don't have the video here. I don't know how long that video is, so we're not going to watch it. But General Flynn says, if true, this person should be immediately detained and questioned, and not by the FBI. We cannot take this level of undermining of an incoming POTUS again. Fool us once, shame on us. Fool us again, we will strike hard this time. There can be no treason, no subversion. Hold these people accountable. And if he spoke to any leaders, uniformed or civilian, in the U.S. government, they should be questioned as well. The consulting firm he worked for should be put on notice and directed to retain all records, text messages, phone records, etc. We the people want our country back on a giant mandate, and we will not be denied. Any others like this person across the government contemplating the same thing, woe betide you if you get caught. Oh, Joe Lang is extrapolating on my last point. What happens if the election fraud in 2016, 2018, 2020, 2022, and 2024 is exposed? What happens then? Was Biden legitimate? Is Congress legitimate? Could a new election be required? Would that new election require safeguards like all the ones Trump keeps talking about? Would mass arrests happen first, since this is a conspiracy of treason? If there are mass arrests, and then we can have a clean election without fraud, how many states will Trump win? How many members of Congress would be MAGA candidates? This is one of the biggest pieces of the puzzle that's coming. Once Trump's people are in place, at the DOJ and FBI. And Trump already knows this is coming. The obstacles that seem to be in his way at the moment are only temporary. He has planned everything accordingly. Think much, much bigger. So one thing I tell myself to reassure me is, God was with Joshua, God is with David, and God is certainly with President Trump. We saw that in Butler, Pennsylvania. No one could be as on the ball and genius as Trump is without help from the one true God. So there's that. Now, I bookmarked this and I think it's awesome. Brian Cates says, this is from Trump's first inauguration in 2017. They came and stood right behind him for one line of the historic speech. Just the one. Listen carefully to what that one line was. The uniforms insignia reveals that these are all military intelligence and JAG officers. So let's listen to what he said. So what's the significance of that? Those intelligence and JAG officers came up behind him during that line of the speech, returning the power from the government to the people. And they left right at the moment when he said, the American people have borne the cost of the small elites' wealth. Julie Green has been talking a whole lot about a wealth transfer, like the people getting their money back, their power back. She's been comparing this period of time to the book of Exodus. What happened in the book of Exodus? Well, the Israelites were rescued from slavery in Egypt. They weren't just rescued from slavery. They got all their wealth back. The pharaohs have been taxing the Israelites for all the time they were in bondage, and and depriving them of their wealth, of their hard work. One of the things that happened after Pharaoh let them go was the Israelites took it all back. They forced the Egyptians to give back all their silver, gold, linens, what have you. We've been talking about a wealth transfer. I talked about those two executive orders I mentioned last week from Trump's first term. Anyone caught with election fortification and/or human trafficking, 2 specific crimes under 2 specific orders, the U.S. can seize those assets. How much you want to bet those assets are going to come back to us? A real wealth redistribution, not just the platitudes that the socialists give us. Just scanning to see what else I want to read here in this group. I do want to look at this. This is from Charlie. Biden and the leftists firebombed the country and the economy on the way out the door. This is the worst start to a fiscal year ever. Charlie's responding to E.G. and Tony. This is the worst start of a fiscal year ever. Spending is up 10.9%. Receipts are down 2.2%. FYTD deficit up 39.4% at 711 billion. They're handing Trump a ticking time bomb. Yeah, they're handing Trump an economic disaster on top of World War III. So we either need to pull some sort of miracle to get out of debt, or we need to cancel the debt altogether and do away with the United States corporation and all the illusions that we've been, all the illusions that we've been laboring under. U.S. Capitol Police Chief says the biggest threat to President Trump's inauguration is the threat of lone actors. He said that just in the past week, while Jimmy Carter was laying in state, they had two lone actors show up at the Capitol. One tried to bring in knives and a machete. The other tried to disrupt proceedings by setting a car on fire. I'll play the sound, but how much you want to bet these are not lone actors? These are intelligence assets. Not directly employees of, the FBI and CIA or intel community, but they are maybe contractors, mental cases that have been conditioned by MK Ultra or something similar, or people who have they have leverage over. Let's see here. I want to move on. I want to go to this Israel-Hamas deal because apparently there's a ceasefire in the whole Israel war going on. Clandestine says, every single anti-Trump narrative fell apart today. That was yesterday, January 15th. For the idiots who said Trump is controlled by Israel, Trump just forced Netanyahu to accept a deal he didn't like and brought a ceasefire in Gaza. For the idiots who said Trump is part of the deep state establishment GOP, Trump just confirmed he's not hiring anyone who worked with the likes of Pence, Nikki Haley, John Bolton, Romney, Cheney, etc. For the idiots who said Trump is literally Hitler, Trump is already ending wars before he even steps in office. Pretty soon, everyone is going to have no choice but to admit that Trump was right all along. So yeah, Christopher Bedford, responding to Prime Minister of Israel. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu spoke this evening with U.S. President-elect Donald Trump and thanked him for his assistance in advancing the release of the hostages and for helping Israel bring an end to the suffering of dozens of hostages and their families. So there's that. Now, something strange is happening. This could be some more chaos agents doing their work, but Daniel Horowitz says this. Qatari minister is live now announcing the deal to save Hamas. Hamas gets to keep Gaza, the U.S. will pay to rebuild it, and will enforce Israeli compliance with Phase 1, which is an Israeli pullout from Gaza. It goes into effect January 19th, 2025, the day before Trump's inauguration. Qatar thanks Steve Witkoff, calling him the president-elect special envoy, and is being responsible for reaching a deal. Now, Marina Medved in response to this saying, the reason Hamas is in the streets celebrating is because they see this deal as a deal to save Hamas. They believe American taxpayers will pay to rebuild Gaza. Who told them that? So will we? I mean, the MAGA movement has made clear we don't want to spend money on any foreign entity, whether it's a government or a terrorist cell. If they want our money, they'll have to take a loan and pay it back. But that's interesting. Okay, I want to read this post here. One of the most concerning things on Twitter over the past year, really since that whole incident with the Orthodox Jews in New York getting caught with their underground tunnels, there's been a massive rise in anti-Semitism on Twitter. I say anti-Semitism for lack of a better term because who are the real Semites? I don't have time to go into detail on that. But War Monitor says, I'm reading what relevant Israeli media personalities and the general public are saying at the moment. I can tell you one interesting thing. The Israeli far right currently hates Trump. They hate the idea of someone reaching a ceasefire in Gaza, something Trump is currently pushing. That's what I want to read. Did I say it or not? I had a tweet bookmarked about intelligence agents in Israel posting fake anti-Semitic remarks on Twitter. That a whole lot of this was a psyop. Shit, I wish I had that tweet saved because I want to read it further and actually read what it says because I don't remember it off the top of my head. But that could have been another, engagement farm in psyop. So that's what that's why I wanted to read through this collection. Let's talk about inflation in the economy and hedges against inflation and then we'll move on. We read this about the 1871 corporation. Donald Trump is expected to propose forming an America First crypto reserve that would prioritize digital coins founded in the U.S., per New York Post. That would include coins like Solana, USD Coin, and Ripple. So Ripple, okay, that's that's encouraging. That's reassuring. USD Coin, or AKA USDC, that's a stable coin. That's an alternative to Tether. Now, we're going to talk about Tether in detail later on. Brian Cates has a great Twitter thread about that and just how dangerous Tether is. USDC, first of all, stable coins are a type of cryptocurrency that are like, they're tokens and they're meant to match one-to-one with the US dollar or whatever currency is in your country that you're using on whatever cryptocurrency exchange. They can't be used as actual money, but they can be used for trading and can be redeemed for your country's official currency through your wallet or your exchange. So think of them as like either tokens at the Chuck E. Cheese or casino chips. They're not actual money. They represent money that you can redeem for cash back at the cash or prizes back at the front office. I'm currently using an online exchange called Apex Pro, and there's two versions of it. There's Pro and there's Omni. Omni has some really great, trading bots that I'm making some decent profit with. Omni only uses Tether, which I'm not comfortable with, but it's the only option on Omni right now, and I think they're working on including USDC in the future. Now, Apex Pro only uses USDC, and I'm working on another trading bot to use on there. It's like separate, it's like third party. I'm trying to get connected. I just don't. I need to like read the rules on programming language, what have you. But the sooner we roll out the issue with Tether, I think that's going to explain a lot why other cryptocurrencies are so questionable. It's not those currencies themselves, it's going to be Tether. But BLS, this is from Peter St. Ong. BLS reports inflation accelerated 4.8% annualized. They're handing Trump a lit fuse. Not unless we overhaul the financial system and actually start over. Now, this is interesting. This is from Bitcoin Magazine. U.S. Senator Cynthia Lummis sent a letter to the U.S. Marshals Service asking why they plan to sell nearly 70,000 Bitcoin seized from Silk Road. That's not $70,000 worth of Bitcoin. That's 70,000 actual Bitcoin seized from the Silk Road. U.S. government cannot continue denying the value of Bitcoin. It's costing taxpayers billions. So the Marshals, do we trust the Marshals? We don't talk about the Marshals much, but they're supposed to be like the national law enforcement instead of the FBI. We know the FBI are crooked. U.S. Marshals could be captured or compromised. Actually, let's read this letter. See who actually gave the order. Okay, this letter is written by Senator Loomis, addressed to Ronald Davis, the director of the Marshals. Dear Director Davis, I write to request additional information related to the U.S. Marshals Service planned disposition of approximately 69,370 Bitcoin seized from the Silk Road case. This matter requires immediate attention given the recent court developments and the significant value of these holdings, currently estimated at over $6 billion at current market prices. While I strongly support law enforcement's efforts to combat criminal activity and to ensure proper disposition of seized assets, I have serious concerns about both the historical handling of Bitcoin sales and the current plans for liquidation of these holdings. The U.S. Marshals Service track record in handling seized Bitcoin reveals a concerning pattern of losses for American taxpayers. Based on historical sales data, the service has sold approximately 195,092 Bitcoin between 2014 and 2023 for a total of approximately $366.5 million. At current market prices, these same Bitcoin would be worth over $18.9 billion, representing a loss of more than $18.5 billion and an unrealized value for American taxpayers, a staggering 98% loss in potential value. This pattern raises serious concerns about the service's approach to managing and liquidating Bitcoin. Of particular concern are current plans to sell an additional 69,370 Bitcoin, which appears to be proceeding despite President-elect Donald Trump's July 2024 announcement regarding the establishment of a national Bitcoin stockpile, which would entail keeping 100% of all the Bitcoin the U.S. government currently holds or acquires. The urgency of this planned liquidation is particularly concerning. Yeah. This looks like another example of Biden hitting us, sabotaging things on the way out. Recent court filings from earlier this month showed that the Department of Justice is citing Bitcoin price volatility to justify an expedited sale of these assets. Even more troubling, the department continues to aggressively push forward with liquidation plans despite pending legal challenges, demonstrating an unusual urgency to dispose of these assets. This rushed approach, occurring during the presidential transition period, directly contradicts the incoming administration's stated policy objectives regarding the establishment of a national Bitcoin stockpile. The timing and aggressive pursuit of the sale raises serious questions about whether proper consideration has been given to the long-term strategic interests of the United States. And she's got her footnotes here, the historical data from Bitcoin Sales Tracker. So Ronald L. Davis, he's the director of the U.S. Marshal Service, and he's the one we need to look into, whether we can trust him or not. Or does he have an odd path profile? Who knows? Thomas Massie. Now, he's been vocal against Mike Johnson as the speaker in another case of infighting. But more or less, he's, on the up and up. Thomas Massie is thanking Representative Mark Green for co-sponsoring my bill to audit the Federal Reserve, H.R. 24. The American people benefit when we work to increase government transparency. So, yeah. The Federal Reserve is at the root of so much corruption in this country. It's part of the United States Corporation. It was conceived by a meeting on Jekyll Island by a lot of highfalutin bankers in 1910. Got a bunch of tweets saved by the Kobisi letter. This is from 3 days ago, January 13th. Is the post-election rally over? The S&P is now trading below November 5th levels and has erased $2.5 trillion of market cap in 4 weeks. Rising term premiums are pressuring stocks, something you'll hear a lot in 2025. What does it mean? Let us explain. So, it's a thread, so let's read this. By now, you've probably heard that inflation is back on the rise. As a result, there's been a notable shift higher in consumer inflation expectations. In a matter of weeks, consumers have seen long-run inflation rising from 2.6% to 3.3%. This is a massive shift. The rise in inflation expectations has resulted in a rapid spike in term premiums. This is the premium that investors demand for the risk of taking on long-term debt. So a lot of trading is done with borrowed money. Sometimes it's called leverage, sometimes it's called futures. This happens a lot of crypto exchanges. I mean, if you want to make a lot of money really fast, although it's really risky, you borrow money from the exchange to buy a lot of a certain asset, and when it goes up in price and you make a profit, and it hits your take profit target, you've done very well. But you can also liquidate your account if it falls, if the trade doesn't work, if it goes south. You can buy and sell with leverage, either buying with leverage or shorting. You can make both. You can make money both ways in the stock market. If an asset goes up, you make money by buying. If it goes down, you make money by shorting. My point is, leverage, futures, it's all borrowed money. And lenders are very cautious about that. Term premiums to 0.55%, the highest in over 10 years. With CPI, PPI, and PCE inflation on the rise, general market-wide uncertainty has surged. Bond investors are demanding compensation for the risk. Bookmark this thread. Here's a chart of Treasury inflation protected securities, or TIPS for short. This is the yield that will effectively grow your capital in line with inflation. Note it's up from the 2024 low, but generally it's in its last 3-year range, which brings us to the next crucial point. Without recent surge in term premiums, we may not have seen significant steepening of the yield curve. This is all a lot of jargon, so this means that the rising term premiums are a result of less rate cuts being expected. In fact, it may even reflect that interest rate hikes are back on the table. This came at the worst possible time for stocks. Fund managers were more bullish of stocks than any time in recent history. Cash allocation fell to a record low, with equity allocation nearing 40%, which means a lot of people were fleeced. That money had to go; those dollars had to go somewhere. Cash allocation fell to a record low, with equity allocation nearing 40%. In fact, not even 2001 or 2008 saw equity allocation at these levels. On Friday, that would have been last Friday, we posted this alert as the S&P 500 fell into 5830. Our premium members took shorts ahead of the drop. Now cashing in, okay, they're tuning their own horn to their investment calls. But continuing, generally speaking, rising term premiums are not something you see in a bull market. As seen in the chart below, term premiums fell before the dot-com bubble in the late 90s, but then spiked sharply in 2001. The same thing was seen in 2006 through 2008. This is concerning for stocks in 2025. I don't even touch stocks. I moved my retirement out of stocks into crypto and gold and silver because stocks are ownership of corporations, and I'm just very, very soured on the whole notion of corporation because Ian Carroll had a great video a couple days ago on his Twitter explaining that all corporations really own each other. There's one big mega corporation, super duper ultra corporation that really just changes money with itself. All the corporations own shares of all the other corporations. Only a tiny fraction of shareholders are actual retail investors. Adding fuel to the fire, back to the thread here, is the US dollar index, or DIX for short, which just broke above 110. So the dollar index indicates the strength of the US dollar, or the value of the US dollar compared to all the other currencies in the world. This marks the first break above that level since November 2022. The US dollar has strengthened by about 10% since rate cuts began. This is not what you typically call a Fed pivot. The market can become significantly more profitable in times of uncertainty. Okay, now they're pushing the Cabal, their newsletter. Lastly, the relationship between gold and the US dollar, DXY, emphasizes just how broken the Fed pivot is. Gold is quadrupling DXY's positive return over the last 13 months. This almost never happens. So gold is shooting up. I'm glad I own gold, and I'm glad to have gold in my retirement portfolio. All of this to say, inflation is going up, stock market is down. Let's look at this chart here and see which stocks are actually in the red. Meta, that's Facebook. WMT, Costco. All the biggest stocks, market caps, Microsoft, Nvidia, Apple, Amazon, Google, Meta, Tesla. These are all tech stocks. I mean, a lot of them are in the red, but they're still huge compared to all the other corporations. It's like the stock market is concentrated in the tech sector. One sector, one group of a small group of companies, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I've heard the phrase Magnificent Seven. It could include 8 here. 7 or 8 super big tech stocks are really raising and lowering the entire stock market, controlling the level of the rest of the stock market. So if you have like an index fund in your retirement account, whether it's a 401k or an IRA, it includes stocks from either the top 500 stocks. Most of that, or a good portion, or plurality of your stock portfolio, is going to be is going to be concentrated in these 7 or 8 stocks here. So, what happens if they crash? What happens if all these big tech firms are, undergo antitrust busting? We'll have to wait and see. So we're going to move on. The point is, the deep state criminals, the Cabal, they're handing Trump a mess. Whether it's violent criminals, violent terrorists, World War III, or a crashing economy. Now, we already know that Trump has a team and the intelligence assets in place to counter this. But it's good to be prepared. It's good to pray the Psalms. And it's also good to listen to alternative, parallel economy infrastructure, like this sponsor, the Wellness Company. I've said before, the new pandemics are still on the table. COVID was just a test run compared to what they have planned. So we have seen that we have proven now through free speech and the Great Awakening that ivermectin can take care of a lot of viruses, that it's a marvel drug. It could even cure cancer if it's paired with some other, medications. So you can actually get ivermectin in several of these medic kits. There's a medical emergency kit, the contagion emergency kit, first aid, kids emergency kit, travel radiation emergency kit, field emergency kit. I got my emergency kit. It's got ivermectin and several other medications that aren't really under the thumb of big pharma. They also have supplements to clear the toxins in you. Were you bullied or deceived into taking the COVID shot? A lot of the trolls are saying the damage is permanent and that you might even have lost God's love. Hey, if I was permanently damaged, would James 4:7 work for me? Nothing's impossible. There's going to be, a way out of this. And a good start would be getting the spike support formula from the Wellness Company, or the Ultimate Spike Detox. I've taken mine, and I've also been eating eggs and pineapple juice and chewing nicotine gum. Follow Jonathan Otto on Rumble. He interviews a lot of smart people. He will lift your spirits. I guarantee you. He's one of the good guys. The wellness company also has virtual care visits. So if you have an issue and you want to see a doctor, but you don't trust the clinic in your area because it's controlled by the medical establishment, go to the wellness company, and for a lot less money than what you have to deal with, like through insurance and bureaucracy and paperwork, you can talk to a doctor online through the wellness company's telehealth service. Click on the link in the description and use my discount code to save money on everything from the wellness company except the virtual care. But I'm super proud and super fortunate and thankful to be a referral partner to this group. Dr. Peter McCullough, he's one of the leaders of the wellness company. He's been on the forefront of raising alarm about the COVID jab and bringing people back from the damage and repairing the vaccine injuries. So do yourself a favor, get a medical establishment, and join the parallel network that's rising up. Click on the link. Now, we got to talk about the media and influencers and a whole lot of. We got to talk about the media wars. This is from Zero Hedge from Saturday, January 11th. How widespread is distrust of mainstream media? Distrust of the news is particularly widespread in the United States and France. As Statista Anna Fleck details below, according to a survey by Statista Consumer Insights, 1 in 5 respondents in each country said they do not trust mainstream media. This is the highest share of the 21 countries polled. Spanish respondents were similarly skeptical, with 19% of respondents answering the same. As the chart shows, the Swiss are more convinced of their country's journalistic integrity, with only 13% of respondents stating that they distrusted the Swiss mainstream media. Under 1 in 10 respondents said they distrusted the news in China, and they have to say that. They have to say they trust the news in China, or else their organs get harvested in one of the internment camps. But I find this funny. MSNBC is one of the most noxious cable news networks. I mean, Rachel Maddow, they're bringing her back. She was their lead anchor, their lead personality. She scaled back her shows to like only weekends, and now they're bringing it back for the full week because they're floundering. I've noted before, MSNBC is fucking satanic. No, literally. I saw a clip of what's his name? Beschloss. It's either Mike or Steve Beschloss. They were talking about, he and the host were talking about Trump's financial affairs, and Beschloss actually flashed an Illuminati symbol. And at that moment, that's the exact moment, Trump's, Truth Media stock shot up, and he made more money than he ever did in his whole life. So, serves MSNBC right. But this, embattled MSNBC will keep its name after Comcast spinoff. Comcast is the parent company of NBC, Universal Studios, and all the cable channels under the NBC umbrella, and they're selling off MSNBC. I mean, Comcast and Universal is doing great business with their theme parks, Universal Studios. They're trouncing Disney, and they've been pretty well based in their movies and other entertainment. So MSNBC is got to be an embarrassment for them. Left-leaning cable channel MSNBC will keep its name after it's spun off by Comcast, the company said. Mark Lazarus, who will lead the new company, consisting of MSNBC and other cable assets, told MSNBC staffers of the plan after he broke the news that MSNBC president Rashida Jones is leaving the company. There was concern that being hived off from the NBC mothership would force a change in branding, as the Post reported. So, yeah, NBC has to sell all of its cable channels because everyone's online now. The future is streaming, although streaming is a different problem in its own right. But no, everyone's cutting cable because cable's outdated. So So what other cable channels are there? There's USA, there's Bravo, there's the Gulf Network. I know there's like 6 or 7 cable channels under this conglomerate that Comcast has to sell off because they're dead weight. I used to love USA back in the day. We'll save this article for later, but the bell tolls for TikTok as lifelines to avoid the January 19th U.S. ban vanish. So I have mixed feelings about TikTok. I'm glad that the younger generation has a way to make money outside of the corporate world by being influencers, but TikTok's not it. Now, TikTok is a short-form video platform. It's kind of like what Vine used to be, but Vine couldn't sustain itself. I kind of wonder if TikTok thrives because it's got a whole bunch of CCP government money behind it. I mean, TikTok is a Chinese company. It's a division of the conglomerate ByteDance. And any company from China is just really an extension of the communist government in China. I mean, U.S. tech firms, social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, I mean, they spy on us in their own right. But better they spy on us than China does. Unless, I don't know. TikTok is just about out of options to save itself from a looming ban in the United States, though that hasn't stopped one U.S. senator from planning a bill to extend the divest or dumped deadline another 270 days past the Sunday. That's right, barring a 90-day extension by Biden, a multi-billion-dollar deal is agreed upon and closed in the next few days. A Supreme Court reprieve or Senate action on legislation that is yet to be introduced. It's lights out for TikTok in the U.S. on Sunday, January 19th. The deadline is set for Chinese tech giant ByteDance to sell the app or have it nixed from U.S. app stores. Now, if you're a TikTok user in the U.S., and a lot of them are fleeing to another Chinese app called, what is it? Red Note? That's the English name for it. What's the point of fleeing one Chinese app for another? Just get a VPN. I'll talk about VPN later, but yeah. Now, this is the big problem with TikTok here. This is from the Daily Caller. Exclusive documents and recordings reveal how TikTok forced staff to swear oaths to uphold China's socialist system. This is by Philip Lenshinsky of the Daily Caller. TikTok required an American executive to sign an oath supporting China's social system and national interests, according to documents related to the employment discrimination lawsuit obtained by the Daily Caller News Foundation. Former TikTok marketing executive Katie Puris alleged she was forced to sign an agreement with the tech giant's China-based sister company, Douyin, swearing not to divulge state secrets, disrupt national honor, or undermine ethnic unity, according to documents obtained by the DCNF. In the spring of 2024, Puris accused her employer, as well as its Chinese parent company, ByteDance, and ByteDance subsidiary, Douyin, of gender and age-based discrimination in a lawsuit that also alleges TikTok's day-to-day operations are controlled by ByteDance. The Supreme Court may rule this week on a lawsuit brought by TikTok challenging the constitutionality of legislation President Joe Biden signed into law that would force ByteDance to sell TikTok by, we covered that. If proven, these allegations reinforce that TikTok's supposed independence is a fraud, and the Chinese Communist Party controlled ByteDance directly manages TikTok's internal functions from China. Michigan Republican Representative John Molinar, chairman of the House Select Committee on CCP, told the DCNF. It is critical for our national security that the Chinese Communist Party's control over TikTok be eliminated. President Trump is the perfect leader to make that happen by forcing divestment and delivering the deal of the century. So, goes into more detail on the oath here, but yeah, TikTok can take a hike. TikTok says Bloomberg report about possible sale to Elon Musk is pure fiction. So yeah, there's an article in Bloomberg saying that possibly Elon would buy TikTok. I don't know if he has that much money. TikTok has responded to a Bloomberg report that China is considering allowing Elon Musk to purchase the social media company's U.S. operations by calling it pure fiction. The report claimed that Chinese officials are considering allowing a deal where Musk's X would absorb TikTok's U.S. operations. Musk is an avowed enemy of Bob Iger, the CEO of Disney, and Bob Iger is an avowed lapdog of the CCP. So no, that's not going to happen. Now this is strange. SEC, the Securities and Exchange Commission, sues Musk for acquiring Twitter at artificially low prices. Here's why the suit is absurd. The Securities and Exchange Commission on Tuesday took one more shot at Tesla and SpaceX CEO Elon Musk before President-elect Donald Trump begins his second term on Monday, accusing the multi-billionaire of committing securities fraud in 2022 by acquiring Twitter at artificially low prices. So this is an example of just, lawfare. Just what they did to Trump. According to the SEC civil suit, Musk was more than 10 days late in reporting required material information, allowing him to underpay by at least $150 million for shares he purchased after his financial beneficial ownership report was due. Prior to the acquisition, the world's richest man had acquired a position in the company of greater than 5%, which required disclosing his holdings to the public within 10 calendar days of reaching the threshold. Musk publicly disclosed his holdings on the 11th day after the mandatory guidelines. Can you spell petty witch hunt? On the day Musk filed, Twitter stock jumped 27%. The next day, he disclosed they had joined Twitter's board of directors and owned more than 9% of the social media company's shares. Several days later, shortly before Musk was scheduled to join the board, he changed his mind and launched public attacks against the company. Let's revisit that before we continue. Here's how Hallmark's catalog, which covers tech, securities markets, AI, new energy, and autonomous electric vehicles, went bottom line on the Democrats' ridiculously failed strategy against Musk. Elon says, I want to buy Twitter. Democrat says, you can't have it. Elon says, I'll pay you guys a lot. Democrats say, okay, fine. Elon, most of these users are bots. Remember that controversy? I can't pay this much. This is insanely overpriced. Democrats, no, you said you were going to buy it. You have to buy it. Elon, all right, fine, I'll buy it. Democrats, haha, you overpaid for Twitter. It's worth much less now. Loser. Elon, yeah, I definitely overpaid for it. Democrats, we're suing you for turning in your disclosure form a little late, allowing you to buy Twitter at a lower price. Elon, that was a lower price? Exactly. So yeah, the reason Elon delayed his disclosure and all that was because he found out there were bots on Twitter and it was worth less than what they were saying. Here's more. Musk is just 4 days away, as I write, having unparalleled influence in the White House as President-elect Donald Trump's second term begins on January 20th. Musk, who was a major financial backer of Trump in the later stages of the campaign, is poised to lead an advisory group that will focus on reducing regulations, including those that affect Musk's various companies. Along with 2024 presidential primary candidate Vivek Ramaswamy, Musk will head Trump's newly created Department of Government Efficiency, aka DOGE. Do we smell a rat here? Having spent nearly 30 years in the securities market, I, the author, have a few relevant thoughts. Let's start with the 27% jump in Twitter stock after Musk first announced that he joined Twitter's board of directors. First, the equities stock market is generally a leading indicator, meaning investors purchase the stock in anticipation of a rising market. In this case, an expected increase in the value of Twitter stock after Musk made his announcement, whereas the fixed investment, or bond market, is the following indicator. Investors who thought Musk would put an end to Twitter's blatant censorship of conservative content and restore free speech on the platform were encouraged to jump in anticipation. Second, Musk's $150 million underpayment, if even true, represented an infinitesimal percentage of his estimated net worth of $426 billion as of January 2025, according to Bloomberg Billionaires Index. Here's a salient point. Why would Musk risk giving the Biden administration's SEC another fake opportunity to hound him? He wouldn't. In response to the SEC suit, Musk posted on X, totally broken organization. They spend their time on shit like this when there are so many actual crimes that go unpunished. Ah, but Elon, you're in cahoots with Donald Trump. The devil spawn. To slash government inefficiency, a direct threat to the federal government bureaucrats, my man. Musk's lawyer, Alex Spiro, said in a Tuesday statement that the SEC suit is an admission that they cannot bring an actual case. Spiro added that Musk has done nothing wrong and called the suit a sham, and the result a multi-year campaign harassment culminating in a single-count ticky-tack complaint. Meanwhile, the soon-to-be former President Joe Biden's worthless son, I'm saying President Joe Biden because I'm quoting someone, I will never actually call Biden the president. Hunter Biden enjoys the full and unconditional pardon by Daddy for failing to pay at least $1.4 million in federal taxes and other charges. Go figure. Yeah. The chairman of the SEC this whole time was Gary Gensler. Anyone who's a crypto aficionado despises him. All right. Do I want to read this about Asmongold, the YouTube streamer? Asmongold calls out Elon Musk, saying he'll stream to Twitter X for an entire year straight if Tesla CEO can prove he personally leveled up his top-ranking Path of Exile 2 account. Oh, yeah, so Elon plays games. He said he's talked to Joe Rogan about it and how playing games actually improves your decision-making skills and hand-eye coordination. So he says, hey, if you're a surgeon, if you do things with the hands and need great control over things, you need to play games. But apparently, Musk brags about his gaming achievements. I don't know. Here's this from clownfishtv.com. HuffPost lays off 22% of its journos as mainstream media implosion continues. This is from January 9th. And yet another grim reminder for mainstream media, HuffPost is cutting 30 editorial positions, accounting for roughly 22% of its newsroom. According to a memo from editor-in-chief Danielle Belton, the layoffs are attributed to growing challenges in the industry, a common refrain for digital and print outlets grappling with declining ad revenue and shifting consumer habits. So on their YouTube channel, Clownfish TV, they always say a lot of these media companies like Huffington Post, BuzzFeed, what else? They've been floating on investor capital for too long, and they have not made a return on investment. So the investors are saying, screw it. I mean, a lot of companies float on investor capital. So Amazon, I keep hearing conflicting reports whether Amazon is ever profitable. Some years they are, some years they aren't. But they're so big because they have such a big stock market cap. Why are all these investors putting money into Amazon when they can sell to make a profit? Probably they want to get in and sell when the Amazon price is even higher. It sounds like, a Ponzi scheme, or it sounds like maybe some big institutions are propping up Amazon stock in order so they can sell their products at a lower price than their retail competitors and take down the brick and mortar retail industry. So apparently, the big institutions who invested in these media companies, they don't see the value in these companies anymore. They see the value in big tech, social media. Social media has been, Elon says Twitter is the news now. Citizen journalism is the news. I get my local news from Facebook. I shouldn't be on Facebook because it's run by Zuckerberg, but I don't read the newspapers anymore. I don't watch local TV anymore, local channels. I can't really tolerate ABC anymore because it's so plastic and it's so over the top in promoting Disney parks, but I just can't stomach my local ABC affiliate anymore. I feel the same way about the other affiliates. Facebook is it for local news. My friends are on there. My family's on there. And that's where the institutions are putting their money. Regime media mouthpieces Chuck Todd and Jen Rubin to quit outlets. This is from Zero Hedge. Now, notice which websites I'm reading these articles from. Clownfish, Zero Hedge, Daily Caller, Bounty Comics, Red State. These are either conservative or non-leftist news websites. Apparently, they're making money. Apparently, the news consumers trust what they say. They find value in it, so they support these websites. Regime media pieces Chuck Todd, Jen Rubin to quit outlets. Is the establishment resistance already crumbling? With trust in the mainstream news at all-time lows, I don't like to call them mainstream anymore because they're not the mainstream. I like to call them corporate media because legacy is just too dignified. With trust in corporate news at all-time lows after a decade of anti-Trump propaganda, media darlings Chuck Todd and Jen Rubin are reportedly leaving their outlets just 1 week before President-elect Donald Trump is set to retake the Oval Office. According to Semaphore, NBC host Chuck Todd has been quietly meeting with Washington media organizations about his post-NBC future, reportedly telling top editors and leaders from other media organizations that he's out of there when his contract is up this year, and has discussed potential roles within the network in both broadcast and digital media. So yeah, I don't know who Jen Rubin is. I'm not going to read her part. Again, from Zero Hedge, this is a repost by Paul Thacker, authored by former congressional investigator Paul Thacker. He says, a lot of fact-challenged essays in the New York Times opinion page last month, but wow, Thacker crushes Krugman, that would be Paul Krugman of the New York Times, Travis Tufekci as the New York Times keeps peddling lies. Paul Krugman is one of the most mendacious dweebs in media you could come across. I mean, you have to be a member of MSNBC to be more obnoxious than him. Two more incidents jumped. This is Paul Thacker writing. Two more incidents jumped to my attention soon after. I'm going to march through all these as well to further impress upon readers of the need to be skeptical about what you read, especially if it's from the New York Times. This is a long article, but I just share it as an example of corporate media legitimacy vaporizing. Now, this is interesting. If you want to talk about infighting and disillusionment, how bad must it suck to be a Catholic when Francis is your supposed pope? But even Pope Francis has this to say about the media. Pope Francis blames fake news for Trump assassination attempt in annual papal address. This article is from January 10th. Pope Francis recently said that fake news was the root cause of the assassination attempts against President-elect Donald Trump last year. The Catholic News Agency reported on the Pontiff's annual State of the World address, which he gave to members of the diplomatic corps accredited to the Holy See on Thursday. In it, Francis pointed to fake news as the root of the division and distrust in society that culminated in Trump almost being killed on two separate occasions in 2024. This phenomenon generates false images of reality, a climate of suspicion that foments hate, undermines people's sense of security, and compromises civil coexistence and the stability of entire nations. Tragic examples of this are the attacks on the chairman of the government of the Slovak Republic and the president-elect of the United States of America, he said. Trump narrowly avoided being killed at a campaign rally in Butler, Pennsylvania, as we all know. Trump avoided a second assassination attempt just 2 months later in Florida, as U.S. Secret Service scared off suspect Ryan Routh before he could take a shot at Trump. As Pope reminded his audience, Slovak Prime Minister Robert Fico was critically wounded when he was shot by a would-be assassin in May while greeting some of his supporters in his country. Local authorities arrested the suspect. During the address, Francis said that these assassination attempts are the result of societies being further polarized by misinformation and media bias. We see increasingly polarized societies marked by a general sense of fear and distrust of others and of the future, which is aggravated by the continuous creation and spread of fake news, Francis declared, using the term that Trump made popular at the start of his political career. The Pope added the fake news not only distorts facts, but also perceptions. Following attempts on his life, Trump blamed false rhetoric pushed by the left as what inspired the shootings against him. Now, I noticed in this article that Francis does not say which news is fake and which is not. But I want to go back to the article I skipped. The rise of news influencers and where they can be found. This article isn't too long, so we'll read the whole thing. This is by Tyler Durden, the main cheese at Zero Hedge. The 2024 presidential campaign that resulted in the re-election of Donald Trump was unique in many ways. One thing it demonstrated is the increased power that individual voices, first and foremost on social media, have in comparison to the actual fourth power, the news media, or the fourth estate. And it's not just mega influencers like Elon Musk or Joe Rogan, people with tens of millions of followers on social media, who shape the political views of many, especially young people these days, but also thousands of smaller scale news influencers. These are people with large social media followings who regularly post on politics and current events, but are, more often than not, unaffiliated with an actual news organization. As trust in news organizations has eroded in recent years, news influencers have become more popular for those seeking independent voices outside the often maligned mainstream media. As Statistas, Felix Richter shows in the chart below, according to the Pew Research Center report commissioned by the Pew Night Initiative, 21% of U.S. adults regularly get news from news influencers, with young adults significantly more to do so than the older ones. I mean, yeah, the boomers are still watching television, and you know how unreasonable they are. 37% of 18 to 29-year-olds regularly get news from influencers versus just 50 to 64-year-olds, and 7% 65 and above. While it would be easy to assume that people mostly seek out news influencers whose views closely align with their own, that doesn't necessarily appear to be the case. According to Pew's findings, 61% of those who regularly get opinions from news influencers say that they see opinions they agree with and disagree with about equally. 30% see mostly opinions they agree with, while very few, 2%, mostly see opinions from influencers they disagree with. So why do people lean on news influencers to get informed? According to Pew, 65% of news influencer followers said they help them better understand current events and civic issues. More than 70% said the news influencers offer news that are extremely very different, 20%, 23%, or somewhat different, 40%, from the news they get elsewhere. And one final aspect is likely trust. While the news media has lost trust in recent years, influencers have it in abundance, often built through years of social media relationships with their followers. What they often lack compared to traditional news outlets is an actual journalistic background, meaning that the trust they enjoy from their followers may not always be backed up by the actual understanding of often complex matters. As Statistas report chart shows, X, formerly Twitter, is the most popular platform among news influencers, with 85% of the 500 sampled influencers active on the platform acquired by Elon Musk in 2022. Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook are also very commonly used, while TikTok is surprisingly far down the list, with only 27% of the sampled influencers active on the platform. So that's another strike against TikTok. So now I don't feel so bad about the banning on January 9th. Now, do we want to read this opinion piece on the New York Post? I just want to scan and see how long it is. It's pretty. We'll just read the first paragraph and the conclusion. Woke is dead. Let's make sure it never comes back. This is by Lionel Shriver on the New York Post. Across the non-left media world, it's now an article of faith that Donald Trump's emphatic victory is a woke watershed. After asking petulantly for year upon year, now have we hit peak woke? Like children in the backseat nagging, "Daddy, are we there yet?" We learned repeatedly from conservative outlets that the progressive woke lunacy that tormented us since about 2014, if not since 1965, has been roundly defeated. The decisive death knell for identity politics dangles the blessed opportunity to no longer squandering reiteration on this earth on stupid conversations and debates over whether women can have penises, racial discrimination cures racism, advancement in employment and education to be determined by skin color, the Western civilization that gave us penicillin, Rembrandt, Bach, and the Hubble Space Telescope is a disgrace. Being grotesquely fat is healthy, and wearing a sombrero that you bought yourself on Amazon is theft. Friends, the folks who have really been stealing the high value items, our precious time, energy, and attention are the doctrinal morons who've helped us into addressing these painfully self-evident questions. I devoted whole afternoons to seriously considering whether a mass movement to sterilize children and cut off their healthy body parts is a good idea. So we'll skip to the last section here. Because they say something enough times, this is a gambit the wokesters themselves have mastered. You can make it true. Wokesters are highly suggestible. Furthermore, most of these folks don't really care about social justice. They care about appearing to care about social justice. They care about other people's esteem. They care about fitting in. They care about validation. They echo what everyone else around them says, because being a mindless copycat means other mindless copycats will like them and they'll keep their friends and their jobs. And they care about social fashion. So they won't spout lingo like cisgender if that might risk an eye roll at parties. They won't want to see behind the times if we convince them that woke is over, that their BLM lawn signs are passe, that monitoring about white privilege is boring and old hat. They'll drop the whole patriarchy, neurodiversity, heteronormativity at all package in a New York minute. We just have to persuade them that woke is unhip, which always has been, but some people are slow. So as far as neurodivergence, hey, I'm neurodivergent. I have Tourette syndrome and ADHD. They are legit, disabilities. Like ADHD, I don't have a normal sleep schedule. I just cannot sleep at night like I need to in order to hold a 9 to 5 job. So that's why I drive Uber and I do this. And Tourette's made my life hell as a kid because I got bullied so bad. But you could say that, there are some real personality disorders behind, left-wing politics. I discussed them at length. The closer B personality disorders, narcissism, psychopathy, borderline, what have you. The ones that make you genetically evil. So we'll end that segment. And I want to point your attention to a company, a business that is the opposite of woke. That's an actual genuine patriot company that makes a great product. I wear their hat, and that's Blackout Coffee. Blackout Coffee is a great treat every week or month. You can order it on their website, Blackout Coffee. Click on the link in the description, and I have like a discount code for you. But Blackout Coffee, they come in a lot of blends here. The Morning Reaper is their medium roast. Brutal Awakening is their dark roast. I love dark roast, so the darker the better. And they are a genuine MAGA, company. You might have heard of Black Rifle Company. Those guys are rhinos. Those guys are frauds. Those guys are the right wingers. They're not genuine conservatives. I told you about that. I talk about this all the time. Real liberals and real conservatives ought to be friends. The problem is fake conservatives and fake liberals, who I call the left wingers and right wingers. But Blackout Coffee are genuine conservatives. They have a proven record, and I'm really proud to be one of their partners. So click on the link. Give yourself a dopamine boost if you're ADHD like me, or wake yourself up in the morning if you're still grinding at your hustle or your 3 to 4 part-time jobs, and get on it now. And if you're watching right now, I'm really glad you're with me. I mean, I know I'm fortunate to have any audience at all, and I know I get a lot more views on Rumble than I do on YouTube, but I'm very happy that I'm giving you this, information on these viewpoints. Do I want to even read this section here? Yeah, I'll skip this article, but this is about surveillance. Because there's still a lot of, crap we need to clean up. This is from The Blaze. This is from January 11th. Eyes everywhere. The AI surveillance state looms. This begins, we need global norms to safeguard privacy and autonomy, ensure AI transparency, and preserve individuals' agency over their lives and beliefs. Rapid advancements in artificial intelligence have produced extraordinary innovation, while they also raise significant concerns. Powerful AI systems may already be reshaping our culture, identities, and reality. As technology continues to advance, we risk losing control over how these systems influence us. We must urgently consider AI's growing role in manipulating society and recognize that we may already be vulnerable. The big problem with AI is that it's centrally controlled. It's like the energy needed to run an AI model, whether it's on ChatGPT or Grok or any of the art generators. They require a lot of energy. Therefore, they require a lot of capital, and only the biggest organizations can afford to run these AI programs. Now, what we're going to need is, more energy. We need to tap back into our oil reserves, get started on nuclear to make energy more abundant and more available for regular folks to have their own AI systems. If you're concerned about AI taking over the world, the threat necessarily isn't, AI becoming self-aware and replacing humans as, as superior beings. The problem with AI is the people behind it, the central elite that control it. If you're concerned about AI, and you want a good example of how to keep AI from taking over in fiction, actually watch Star Wars. I know Star Wars is very passe; it's a dead brand, but there's a great YouTube channel called Generation Tech. I've mentioned this before. They have a video explaining how droids in the Star Trek galaxy, far, far away, never actually took over and replaced the organics. The way that happened was there was a droid uprising at one point, but the Jedi were able to put it down. Of course, the Jedi had the Force on their side. We humans in the real world have angels and the Holy Spirit on our side. But in practical terms, the organic humans and other alien species in the galaxy, they were able to control droids by individual ownership, by decentralizing droids, keeping them from colluding with each other, and taking responsibility for the droids' actions, holding the owners responsible for what the droids did. So, in order to avoid AI from destroying our civilization, we need to spread out the ownership. Not in a socialistic way, but actual ownership. Individual owners owning their own AIs and having enough energy to run them. But moving on. I'm just reading these articles. I'm just scanning the headlines and wondering which one of them I want to continue reading. But this is actually a very important point here. This is also from Blaze. Big Brother's Bigger Brother. The Five Eyes War on Your Freedom. Have you heard about Five Eyes? I only heard about them recently. Five Eyes are five countries: USA, Great Britain, Canada, Australia, and there's another one that escapes me. I think it's New Zealand. Yeah. They are they nominally share intelligence with each other, and you think, oh, that's nice. Our allies are working together. No, it's actually a way for U.S. government to spy on its own citizens without a warrant. They just let their buddies in other countries spy on us, and then they share the information. So, I got booted out. That's a premium article. So, yeah, we'll just read the first couple paragraphs of this article. The Five Eyes Alliance, an Orwellian pact of surveillance. Shit. I said what I need to about Five Eyes. Let's move on. Now, do we trust Mark Zuckerberg? Hell no. Do we trust that he's genuinely turned over a new leaf and wants to support free speech? Hell no. But do we trust, the white hats to have leverage over him? Sure we do. We were censored by Meta. We're taking this to the Supreme Court. This is authored by Mary Holland via Real Clear Politics, by way of Zero Hedge again. The headline from Politico's playbook would have been unthinkable 8 years ago. Meta sends Trump a friend request. After all, Meta's founder, Mark Zuckerberg, is a political lightning rod in conservative political circles, especially after the $300 million like-minded politicians. Yet lately, Zuckerberg has been singing a much different tune. He referred to President-elect Trump as badass, visited him at Mar-a-Lago, and donated $1 million to his inaugural fund. His inaugural fund, not his campaign fund. This week, Meta made news by adding Dana White, a longtime Trump ally and head of the Ultimate Fighting Championship, to its board of directors. Then came the real bombshell. Meta ended its so-called independent fact-checking program, ostensibly lifting restrictions on speech across Facebook, as well as other platforms like Instagram and WhatsApp. In doing so, Zuckerberg admitted the current content moderation practices in place since criticism of the 2016 presidential election have gone too far and stressed a commitment to restoring free expression. Make no mistake, Meta's independent fact checkers are neither independent nor fact-based. Their elimination is a positive step that should be encouraged. Their announcement came less than 24 hours after the organization I lead, the nonprofit Children's Health Defense, asked the U.S. Supreme Court to hear our censorship lawsuit against Meta. But if Meta is serious about supporting free expression, they have a lot of work to do. And it requires more than moving headquarters from California to Texas, as Zuckerberg has also pledged to do. I mean, if big tech can't run your company in California, what does that say about California? Can't afford to run a company in California. What does that say about California? During the COVID-19 pandemic, Meta not only censored our posts, many having to do with topics that the so-called medical experts like Anthony Fauci were dead wrong, but outright kicked us off the platform without warning. Meta first took action against CHD in May 2019 from takedowns and restrictions to an outright ban in August 2022 that is still in effect. What were our offenses? Simply publishing data on the risks of COVID vaccines, remdesivir, and ventilation, as well as having the temerity to raise the benefits of natural immunity and alternative treatment with ivermectin and other protocols. An unfettered discussion of all these issues would have saved lives. We knew that many of the government's promises on items like the pandemic's origin and the best way to treat symptoms and prevent its spread were not grounded in science, as they claimed, but political imperatives from the Biden administration. It was done by bullying and narcissistic abuse. I mean, some of us who took the vaccine didn't want to. We had reservations. But we were bullied by family members or workplaces. I mean, I'm absolved. God said I'm absolved. God said I will survive the vaccine. But you got to understand. You got to understand how abuse works. And social media, Facebook, is infested with it. So yeah, the author of this article is taking Meta to court over censorship. And we know, this is how we know Meta is not to be trusted. This is from Cointelegraph. Week after speech, Meta blocks decentralized from January 13th. Mark Zuckerberg's company is forcibly removing any links to competing platforms mere days after declaring more speech and fewer mistakes across its platforms. Social media giant Meta is blocking links to a competing platform less than a week after the company said it was committing to free expression, raising questions about whether Mark Zuckerberg's firm was sincere in reducing censorship. According to a 404 Media report, the Meta-owned Facebook has been actively deleting links to a decentralized Instagram competitor known as PixelFed. All links to pixelfed.social have been labeled spam and removed immediately. Meta acquired Instagram in 2012, broadening a social media umbrella to include the popular image sharing app. The apparent censorship of PixelFed was initially identified by AJ Sadauskas on Blue Sky, an ex-competitor founded in 2019 by entrepreneur Jack Dorsey. AJ Sadauskas says, confirmed, Facebook has banned anyone from linking to PixelFed. Hashtag meta blocking PixelFed. I just tried posting a message on Facebook that reads, anyone here using PixelFed? With a link to pixelfed.social. Within seconds, I got a post saying my post was banned. Screenshots below. So they're not waiting for moderators or fact checkers to block it. I mean, it's been automated to block any mention of that app. Zadowska shared screenshots showing PixelFed links on Facebook being deleted within seconds. Fellow Blue Sky user Johan Vandeveld said the automatic deletions weren't just limited to PixelFed, but included other Facebook competitors. Someone asked me for Facebook alternatives, and I gave a link to Mastodon. My comment was immediately removed, also because of spam, said Vandeveld. Selected expressions kind of gives a review of what Zuckerberg said. I'm not sure that's the real Mark Zuckerberg. Like, when did he decide to grow his hair and lose the whole reptile robot look, Android look? Just as we don't know if the Biden is the real Biden and whether Simon Cowell is the real Simon Cowell and whether, Shania Twain is the real Shania Twain. I kind of wonder if Zuck has been judged, executed, and replaced by a body double. Yeah, we'll skip the rest of this here. Now, I think this is funny. Tim Sweeney, he's the CEO of Epic Games. They're the makers of Fortnite, which is like the biggest video game in the world here. Tim Sweeney accuses big tech of faking MAGA support. This is from Niche Gamer, another non-woke, non-leftist website that's doing pretty well. Epic Games founder and CEO Tim Sweeney has come out swinging against big tech companies for, in his opinion, sucking up to U.S. President-elect Donald Trump. First posted on social media platform X, formerly Twitter, Tim Sweeney said, after years of pretending to be Democrats, big tech leaders are now pretending to be Republicans in hopes of currying favor with the new administration. Well, they don't have to pretend. I mean, Democrats and Republicans are both part of the criminal syndicate, so they're pretending to be actual companies. He went on to say, beware of the scummy monopoly campaign to vilify competition law as they rip off consumers and crush competitors. Sweeney would go to elaborate in several responses and threads throughout the day, talking up how big tech companies apparently play both sides and previously demonizing Trump and his base. In recent months, nearly all of the big tech figures have lined up to donate money to Trump's inauguration party. This includes Meta founder and CEO Mark Zuckerberg, who donated $1 million to Trump after previously having banned him years ago from Facebook. Zuckerberg's about face is also included, publicly shaming Democrats and accusing them of forcing him to censor conservative voices. Besides Zuckerberg, Apple and Google have also come out in favor of MAGA, with both groups donating millions to the Trump campaign. So does that mean I can say Biden stole the election in 2020 on YouTube? Will this stream get shut down if I say that? It hasn't passed. Well, let's get to the conclusion here. As big tech, where do I want to go? Also note with corporations seemingly dropping support for liberal politics is the Disney company's decisions to remove any and all woke material from shows and films currently in production. This has included removing trans characters from at least 2 spin-off shows, removing environmental themes from a different project, and removing key bits of dialogue from their upcoming live-action Snow White film. It would appear that at the top, Disney does not care at all about politics. The many writer employees were sincere and unhappy with the new developments, and will bend the knee to whichever demographic it feels is more powerful at the time. Big tech follows Disney's example. Tim Sweeney has continued to criticize what he sees as the cynical opportunism behind the new politics. So then the article concludes, what do you think of so asking for comments here. But a company needs to serve its customers first. But for too long, companies have been serving their shareholders and investors. And like I said earlier, if an investor, wants to take out a certain company, organization, or movement, they can put their money behind another company that'll do that. Like Amazon is doing with retail. face big tech like social media has done with outdated media. I mean, the big institutions are going to decide, what industries survive or die, rise or fall. So we need to wake up to the power of the institutions and take back control of our money and take back freedom of speech. Now, I want to read this article in full, or do I? God, that's long. You know what? I'm going to put a pin in this. I'm going to make this a separate video. How Trump plans to take on censors and how they plan to take on Trump. So I'm just going to pull that out and save it for later. Now, that's the end of that segment. And that brings me to my next sponsor, and that is NordVPN. NordVPN, or a VPN, stands for Virtual Private Network, and it's a way to make your internet browsing device more secure. It hides your browser activity on whether it's your computer or your smartphone. If you get an account on NordVPN, you can install it on multiple devices, and you can even share files securely and discreetly between devices. Joseph Stalin's chief of the secret police famously said, "Show me the man and I'll show you the crime." Meaning, if the government or the state or the powers that be want to get you, they'll make up something, whatever they want, based on any weird little inane bit of information about you and turn you into a criminal if they want to. Don't give them that opportunity. Protect your browser history. I know you're all law-abiding citizens who are not pedophiles or weirdos or human traffickers or do weird shit on the dark web. But don't even give the deep state grist to make something up. Protect your browser history with NordVPN. Another benefit of NordVPN, which is the industry leader among VPNs, is you can access content from regions that might be restricted in your own country. Say, if you want to access TikTok for some reason and it's not available in the US, turn on the VPN, set it to another country like China or somewhere in Europe where TikTok is still available, and you can get online and you can still use it. I don't know why you want to use TikTok after what we've uncovered, but that's your prerogative. Rot your own brain and come back to God's word once you hit rock bottom and need to get your life back in order. But in the meantime, click on the link to NordVPN. They're always having a deal of some kind. 70% off NordVPN. 30-day money-back guarantee. I'm protected. You should protect yourself. I mean, with all the weird spyware, hackers, Five Eyes, corporate data brokers, it only makes sense to protect your data and in your browsing history. So click on the link and do yourself a favor, and you'll support this program as well. So now we're going to talk about cryptocurrency. One thing I've used VPN for is I'm accessing cryptocurrency exchanges that weren't available in the US. And because they started the Apex exchange, because it's decentralized, it's not centrally run. It runs on blockchain technology, same as a lot of cryptocurrencies. So I've been very happy with Apex. The only problem is they require that you use the Tether stablecoin. And we're going to read this Twitter thread by Brian Cates explaining why Tether is such a problem. I mean, I hope Omni migrates to USDC soon. I know it takes time because there's a lot of code to go through, but let's pray and let's encourage them, because Omni otherwise is a great platform. Apex is a great platform. Now, this thread is actually from a year ago, last year before. Gotta scroll to the top. Now, this was fresh off the FTX scandal. Do you remember that? Nobody looks too closely until after the thing collapses. Everybody's making money. Everybody's having fun. Whee! Why would you look too closely? Take FTX. A bunch of college-age kids, including head slob Sam Bankman-Fried, living in a freaking penthouse in a luxury hotel in the Bahamas, scammed and grifted billions for several years, and nobody caught on to what they were doing. Bullshit. It was a huge freaking money laundering operation. They were protected until suddenly they weren't. Same thing is going to happen to Tether. Just a question of when. Wait a minute. Are these posts out of order? Shit, I had this all prepared. Just bear with me here. Okay, we've already sussed out that SBF wasn't really running a lot of FTX. He was a frontman. Are the people supposedly running Tether also frontmen? What was the financial dance between FTX and Tether? Just a massive money laundering scheme being run from the shadows? Are the waiting for Twitter to run? This is why I organize Twitter posts the way that I do. We're at the 2-hour mark. Thanks for hanging in there. Shit. I was going to go into a lot of detail about the problems with Tether, and now the internet's being silly with me. So, hey, if you want a reason to follow me on Twitter, I'm going to pin this to my own profile and try to signal boost Brian Cates. Not that he needs it because he's a top-notch, profile, but the gist of this thread, as I read it last year, was Tether is supposed to match all of their tokens 1-to-1 with US dollars. You buy a Tether token, you get a Tether with $1, you get that much back. And the organization behind Tether, which is supposedly a cryptocurrency, which runs on the blockchain, it's run by a group that has never been successfully thoroughly audited. And has ties to the CIA, the intelligence networks. Now, what Brian Cates, asserts in his thread is, how do we know Tether isn't, just printing their USDT token out of nothing and manipulating the markets on exchanges, manipulating the price of Bitcoin or Ether or a lot of other, cryptocurrencies. How do we know that Tether isn't being used by the deep state like Obama puppets or Biden puppets or the CIA to launder money for their own purposes? Until I find an honest exchange which I can use leverage for, and that actually uses USDC rather than USDT, I'm kind of stuck using USDT on Apex, but a lot of us are stuck with situations we don't want to be in. are not optimal. We have to eat shit and grin and bear it until a way out is presented. We have to deal with, influencers we may not agree with or have an issue with, but are still on our side because the opponent is worse. That's the case with Rumble and their, big investment from Tether. But this is more encouraging. El Salvador partners with Rumble to strengthen digital sovereignty and tech innovation. El Salvador, they have a lot of Bitcoin. Bitcoin is legal tender there. Nayib Bukele is a proven base individual as the president of El Salvador. So this is good. El Salvador has forged a partnership with video and cloud service provider Rumble, securing a deal that will supply the country with critical cloud computing infrastructure. Under this agreement, Rumble will deliver a range of services, including data storage solutions, database management, load balancing capabilities, and remote application integration. The partnership followed a high-profile meeting in September between Rumble CEO Chris Pavlovski and Salvadoran President Nayib Bukele, an event organized by Stacey Herbert, director of El Salvador's National Bitcoin Office. This agreement signifies not only technological advancement, but also a clear stance on digital independence and resistance to a centralized control by dominant tech conglomerates. Rumble CEO Chris Pavlovski emphasized the significance of this development, asserting this agreement marks a major milestone for Rumble, as it is clear that our infrastructure, capabilities, and dependability are suitable for governments to trust for their most important data and computing needs. Pavlovski also highlighted the growing global demand for platforms that uphold freedom of expression, stating, "This is also just more proof that the world recognizes the importance of independence from big tech, as no one wants to risk being technologically silenced because an activist in Silicon Valley doesn't like what you think or say." So this partnership is highly reassuring. So I don't like that Tether invested in Rumble, but if other entities that we do trust have invested in Rumble and kind of spread it out, that's a good sign. This from Cointelegraph. U.S. Banking Committee chair says this crypto framework of the banking committee would have an open-minded environment for digital assets. Republican Senator Tim Scott, recently elected to the chair of U.S. Senate Banking Committee, announced that developing a regulatory framework for digital assets would be one of the body's priorities for the 119th Congress. In a January 15th notice, Senator Scott said the Banking Committee intended to focus on policies for financial inclusion that create opportunity in the U.S. The committee's list of priorities included affordable housing, economic national security, oversight, and digital assets. Under Chair Gary Gensler, the SEC refused to provide clarity to the cryptocurrency industry, which forced projects overseas, said Scott. Moving forward, the committee will work to build a regulatory framework that establishes a tailored pathway for the trading and custody of digital assets. The South Carolina senator added, the committee would have an open-minded environment for stablecoins and related digital asset products. He could face opposition from committee ranking member Elizabeth Warren, who was critical of many crypto policies in the 118th Congress. So clarity is what we want. Clarity is good. Markets hate uncertainty even more than they hate down markets. So the whole reason we don't trust certain cryptocurrencies is because Gary Gensler, under the Biden regime, was such a stick in the mud over cryptocurrency and clear framework and regulations and clear. So that's why a lot of people have distrust over cryptocurrency. That's why a lot of criminals and scam artists are big on cryptocurrency. It's not because of regulations. It's because of lack of clarity, and a lack of rule, and a lack of transparency. Now, XRP price snaps 8-year downtrend versus Bitcoin as predictions target $14. So just because one Bitcoin is worth more than one XRP, it doesn't mean the market cap for XRP is small. I mean, there's a lot more Bitcoin, a lot more XRP units than there are Bitcoin. But XRP price continues to show strength versus the wider crypto market, and data indicates the altcoin's potential to move higher, possibly into double digits. XRP has led the broader crypto market with a 12% jump over the last 24 hours that brings its gains since early November 2024 to 466%. The swift recovery from January 3rd lows at $2.20 has led analysts to say that XRP's price is poised to rally into double digits this year. Now, why is this? XRP had underperformed Bitcoin since the 2017 bull cycle before it regained its footing at the end of 2024. With the weekly close above 0.000015 during the last week of November 2024, the XRP Bitcoin pair broke above a multi-year descending trend line. So XRP's growth compared to Bitcoin is what they're measuring. Data from Cointelegraph Markets Pro and TradingView shows that XRP Bitcoin closed the week at 0.000026 pips on January 12th, the highest weekly candle since October 2022. Market analysts expected continued outperformance of XRP against Bitcoin will potentially see the ratio hit the all-time high target of, I want to say 245 pips reached in May 2017. Powerful breakout for XRP against Bitcoin pair with strong volume, said XRP analyst Steph, is crypto in January. That's not well written. I want to get to why XRP is blowing up. I don't think it says it in this article. Illicit crypto volumes likely $51 billion in 2024, but overall share falls from chain analysis. Cover this. This is from today. 2024 saw nearly $41 billion worth of illicit crypto volume, but that could climb to around $51 billion as more criminal-type addresses are found, chain analysis says. Now, illicit crypto volumes may have reached as much as $51 billion in 2024, according to estimates from chain analysis. But the share of illicit crypto use compared to the entire market has fallen to the lowest level in 3 years. Last year saw $41 billion worth of illicit crypto volume. That can rise to another $10 billion given historical trends and as more illicit addresses are identified, the blockchain analytics firm said in a January 15 blog post. 2024 was likely a record year for inflows to illicit actors as these figures are lower bound estimates based... Write better! Estimates based on inflows to the illicit addresses we've identified up to today, chain analysis wrote. A year from now, these totals will be higher as we identify more illicit addresses and incorporate their historic activity into our estimates. The crypto market had a comeback in 2024 after a lull that had started in the second half of 2022, with the U.S. exchange-traded funds and Donald Trump's election helping to propel the market to peak value of over $3.9 trillion in mid-December. Yeah, the Bitcoin ETF fund that BlackRock got through, that was huge. Not that we like BlackRock, but maybe that's why XRP is blowing up, because they see it as they don't trust. Maybe that's why people don't trust Bitcoin anymore. Despite a rise in crypto use, the share of illicit crypto volume in the market last year fell to 0.14% compared to 0.61% in 2023, the lowest level since 2021, which was 0.12%. Similarly, we expect the share to rise over time, chain analysis said, although historically these rates remain below 1%. So why does illicit use of cryptocurrency, why is it so low? Because it's on the blockchain. There's a public record of all transactions of cryptocurrency. You know, you wonder, hey, what's to stop criminals from using the money in cryptocurrency? Well, we can see you on the Bitcoin ledger. We can see you on on the XRP ledger. The only limitation is maybe the speed of your device or the speed of the network. So laundering money through cryptocurrency, I mean a legit cryptocurrency, not a CBDC, legit cryptocurrency, is a stupid thing to do. Oh, this is interesting. Stablecoins continue to be the most popular crypto of choice for moving illicit funds, accounting for nearly 2/3 of illicit volumes. But chain analysis noted that stablecoins also account for the majority of broader crypto volume, around 77%. So I wonder if that includes Tether. So let's hope with a better SEC and a better regulatory framework for cryptocurrency, we can move away from Tether to a cryptocurrency exchange, a decentralized exchange that doesn't deal with that, with USDC or XRP's new stablecoin. We're reading this thing here about US Bitcoin ETF's first anniversary. A surge far above expectations. This is from January 10th. Many executives and the US ETF stands for Exchange Traded Fund. So if you don't buy Bitcoin directly on the exchanges or Bitcoin website itself, you get exposure to Bitcoin through an exchange traded fund. The SEC drug its feet for years, and they opposed an exchange traded fund in the USA for many years until BlackRock made their voice heard. Now, I'll never forget the one video on Glenn Beck's TV show explaining how the dot-com bubble was suppressed, how normal retail investors were kept out of big tech investments by the media, and FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt. And the guest who was going through that history said the same thing was happening with crypto. You know, why the media was so against Bitcoin and Ether and all that, saying it's used by criminals. That was just giving the big shots, the institutions, a chance to buy up crypto for cheap. I'll never forget the gist of that video clip, and that's why I'm proud to be exposed to Bitcoin and Ether and the mainstream cryptos and XRP at this time. You're still early. Following the approval from the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission on January 10th, 2024, U.S. spot Bitcoin ETFs began trading the following day. In less than a year, they have contributed 100% to the $4.2 billion in inflows to crypto investment products globally as of the end of 2024. To mark 1 year since their launch, Cointelegraph reached out to several ETF providers and analysts for their insights into why U.S. became the global leader in Bitcoin ETFs in 2024. This is a very long article. Maybe not. I just want to bring that up. Now, what is a way for you to invest in cryptocurrency that's halfway not so sketchy, halfway legitimate, actually 100% legitimate? That is through my next sponsor here, and that's iTrust Capital. iTrust Capital offers retirement plans as well as gold and silver. I've got exposure to gold and silver through iTrust Capital, and I moved my retirement to iTrust Capital away from Wall Street and stocks. Now, iTrust. The problem with crypto is there is very little regulatory clarity on what's good token or not. So they do their work. They look up the most proven and trusted You got Dogecoin. You can roll over your retirement from a lot of corporations went woke in the past few years because they were controlled by the big institutions, the financial institutions like BlackRock, like State Street, like the investment banks. Investment banks were imposing DEI and ESG into corporations. So that's why Disney went woke. Now they're walking away from that because the people made their voices heard. But beware, as the YouTuber Kirsch has been sounding alarm on, the big institutions are moving away from DEI and ESG to a policy called Bridge, which is just ESG and DEI under another name. They're not, they're not backing down. They're just going back to the drawing board. So you gotta be alert. One way to take control of your money and make sure that these companies don't go woke out of it, or file a big class action lawsuit. But if you don't want to be part of a woke corporation, move your money out of the stock market and into an alternative asset. I also have a link to a Noble Gold Investments. If you don't feel so safe about cryptocurrency, you can let the big institutions use your stocks to force an illicit agenda on major companies. Either take your money out or file a class action lawsuit with something like America First Legal and go that way. But this is one way to fight back. Like I always say, take back your freedom by taking control of your money. And you can do that with iTrust Capital or Noble Gold Investments, or any of the other exchanges that I have in my that I mentioned in my description. So we're at the home stretch here. I'm not going to read all these articles, but I'm just going to skim the headlines here. This is the economic segment of the stream. This is from today, from Zero Hedge. The all-knowing folk at the Bank of America expect a hotter than consensus print for retail sales this morning, as seasonal distortions play a factor. That'd be the Christmas holiday season. There were two shifts in December calendar relative to 2023. First, a late Thanksgiving pushed Cyber Monday into December. Second, there were 4 weekends in December 2024 versus 5 in 2023. On balance, these factors led to a slightly more favorable seasonal factor for December 2024 than December 2023. For once, Bank of America was wrong with the headline retail sales print disappointing, which dragged the year-over-year sales growth down a little bit to 3.9%. On charts here. So retail is struggling, only improving slightly more than last year, probably because of Trump's win, but inflation is still a thing. Now, we talked about Mr. Besant earlier. Scott Besant, he's Trump's nominee for the Treasury Department. Reducing the tax, this is from Breitbart, Besant to call for tax relief for manufacturers, service workers, and seniors. So, there's a lot of talk about ending the income tax. I mean, the 16th Amendment that enforces the income tax, that was sketchy as hell. I mean, the way it was ratified was probably not a real ratification, if you want to go a deep dive into the history on that. But what's worse is the income tax goes hand in hand with the central bank, with the Federal Reserve, and puts the American people into debt slavery, while the elites reap the benefits, just as Trump said during his first inauguration. But what does Besant say? Reducing the tax burden on U.S. manufacturers, service workers, and retirees will be a critical priority for the incoming Trump administration. Trump Treasury nominee Scott Besant will tell a Senate panel Thursday. according to prepared remarks. So this already happened because I'm streaming late at night. If Congress fails to act, Americans will face the largest tax increase in history, a crushing $4 trillion tax hike. We must make permanent the 2017 Tax Cuts and Jobs Act and implement new growth policies to reduce the tax burden on American manufacturers, service workers, and seniors. The Senate plans to tell the Senate Finance Committee. The Senate has been largely behind the scenes in the months since Trump tapped the South Carolina-based billionaire investor to be Treasury Secretary. He had been meeting with senators from both the Republican and Democrat parties in recent weeks and is expected to be approved for the cabinet position. Lawmakers are expected to question President on tariffs, proposals to establish a Bitcoin reserve, and the future of Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, tax cuts, Russian sanctions, and U.S. currency policy. According to prepared remarks reviewed by Breitbart News, the Senate will say that maintaining the dollar as the world's reserve currency is important for the economic health of the U.S. Problem is we don't have actual U.S. dollars. We have Federal Reserve notes. I hesitate to use the phrase U.S. dollar when I'm reading these articles because they're not real dollars. You know, Dave, the X-23 report, he just says the number. We'll skip the conclusion here. The Senate will defend the president-elect's plans to impose tariffs and negotiate improved terms of trade for U.S. businesses. President Trump said that he will impose tariffs across the board, although he has hinted that trading partners could see relief from tariffs on the goods and services they export to the U.S. if they're willing to reduce their own trade barriers and purchase more U.S. goods. Yeah, people complain, oh, why are we raising tariffs on other countries? Well, they do it to us. It's a negotiation tactic. We want tariffs so that we ourselves don't, we American citizens don't have such a horrible tax burden or any tax burden at all. Trump was the first president in modern times to recognize the need to change our trade policy and stand up for American workers, the Senate will say. From Zero Hedge, small town America fights back and begins with their town with Haitians. So, we'll just read the first few paragraphs here to get the main idea. A resident of Charleroi, Pennsylvania, who was among the first to draw national attention to the massive influx of Haitian migrants to a small town, is now locked in a legal battle with a local food packaging plant that employs primarily migrants from the third world. Eyes on Charleroi first appeared when President-elect Donald Trump highlighted the town's staggering 2,000% surge in its migrant population before the presidential elections. The resident is also planning a class action lawsuit on behalf of hundreds of residents, demanding accountability from those responsible for the migrant invasion. Local media outlet Pennsylvania Record reports the lawyer Andrew Armbrust followed Pennsylvania's new defense in some instances. The opportunity to evade litigation. Charleroi was 4th. So let's skip the bottom here. A lot of details, but essentially, residents are taking on the big corporations because big corporations want cheap labor. They want cheap foreign labor. So that's what a lot of the H-1B controversy on Twitter was all about, because foreign labor as U.S. citizens, so they can be exploited, or they could be used for other nefarious purposes. Senate Banking Committee member Elizabeth Warren does not understand how Social Security works. This is from January 11th. She said something stupid. Let's read this. When Elon Musk, the richest man on earth, is set to pay the same amount in taxes for Social Security as a neighborhood dentist, we've got a problem. I'm fighting to get the wealthy to pay their fair share in Social Security so we can increase benefits. Who the hell thinks Social Security is going to be around in 15 to 20 years? Warren, ranking member of the Senate Banking Committee, seems unaware that Social Security earnings and payouts are both capped. Yeah, it's stupid to pin your retirement on Social Security because it's limited. I mean, I've seen posts. It keeps appearing. It's like a screenshot. It's a meme. If you put in as much money as you do in Social Security as you do into the stock market, you'll get a much bigger return. Probably even a bigger return with cryptocurrency or gold or silver. So if people are being forced to pay into Social Security, therefore they're being robbed. In fact, you're not even paying into your own Social Security retirement. You're paying into someone else's. The younger generation is paying the older generation's Social Security payments. It's a Ponzi scheme. I mean, I don't mean to be cliche, but that's what it is. It's a criminal scheme. It's a criminal con job enforced on us by our government. So, photo of John Wayne. Social Security has a cap on both the amount you pay in and the amount you get paid out. You lying cunt. If Musk said you can call his fair share, his monthly payments 7 years in a row when he's 62 would be $5 million a month. The way to get the rich to pay their fair share is not through taxes. It's not through income tax or Social Security. It's through a fair tax on sales. I mean, if the Democrats were really serious about the rich paying their fair share, they would have simplified the tax code decades ago. Consumer inflation expectations jump as labor market household finance sentiment Monday. I mean, yeah. Other than optimism over Trump and MAGA, we're still we're still walking on eggshells because who knows? Because we've seen just how sinister the Democrats and the rhinos are. Don't know if I want to read that. I'm about ready to wrap this up here, but I don't know if I want to read all these. Oh, boy, this is big. This is important. Because this involves our proof of food supply. This is from the Register.com from yesterday, January 15th. Oh, dear. FTC sues tractor maker, alleging decades of monopolized repairs. So, incoming Trump-picked watchdog boss dissents, calls suit hasty and deeply imprudent, so will it stick? America's top consumer watchdog has sued tractor maker John Deere for monopolizing tech repair services for its machinery. Whether the lawsuit will survive the pending presidential transition remains to be seen. With just days until Biden leaves office and the Democratic-led FTC cedes control to Republicans under President-elect Trump, the federal regulator has decided to file suit against John Deere over what it said is decades of unlawful practices that have driven up repair costs and caused losses for farmers left without the ability to repair equipment in a timely manner. It's the right to repair issue. This is why McDonald's ice cream machines have been broken for so long, are always broken, because McDonald's employees or managers, they don't have the right to repair the machines themselves. They have to they have to bring someone from the manufacturer in. This is why you can't make modifications to your Apple device. However, with anything involving the Biden administration, there's got to be more than meets the eye. There has to be some ulterior motive. Deere's unlawful practices have limited the ability of farmers and independent repair providers to repair Deere equipment, forcing farmers to instead rely on Deere's network of authorized dealers for necessary repairs, the FTC said in a statement. This unfair steering practice has boosted Deere's multi-billion-dollar profits on agricultural equipment and parts. The specifics of the complaint will look familiar to anyone who has followed the years-long saga of repairability groups, farmers, and the federal government to force Deere to open its tractors, combines, and other farm equipment to repair by third parties and device owners. At the core of the suit is an issue raised by a dozen farm, labor, repair, and advocacy groups who, in 2022, told the FTC that Deere provided half-baked software to our independent repair providers and equipment owners with only some of the capabilities of its more full-featured internal repair tool. So in other words, they're saying John Deere nerfed their software products in order to force repair jobs by their certified in-house repair teams. That would be some bullshit if it's true. I want to skip to this part. In a statement issued along with the announcement of the lawsuit, outgoing FTC Chair Lena Khan expressed disappointment that the two Republican members of the regulator, Andrew Ferguson and Melissa Holyoke, voted against the lawsuit on what she described as political grounds that would delay the relief farmers are owed. Unlawful repair restrictions should continue to be a key area of focus for the FTC, Khan said of the watchdog under Trump. In their dissenting statement, Ferguson, who has been tapped to head the FTC once Trump takes office next week, and Holyoke called the lawsuit a hasty action made in order to secure another triumphant press release for the Democrats on the way out the door, suggesting Ferguson might not support its continuation once he takes Khan's gavel. So this action appears to be one taken in haste to beat President Trump into office and leads to the suit the sense of partisan motivation. Ferguson wrote in the letter, which Holyoke joined. The outgoing Democrat majority's decision to bring the suit mere days before the presidential inauguration does the FTC a disservice. Cases with bipartisan support are stronger. Ferguson also dissented because he claimed the timing of the suit shortchanges an ongoing investigation and called it deeply imprudent because the parties to the suit are in active negotiation over a fix that could provide meaningful relief to America's farmers. So, we'll read this next paragraph. Nathan Proctor, Senior Right to Repair Campaign Director at the Public Interest Research Group, one of the organizations involved in the 2022 complaint central to the FTC lawsuit, told the Register he doesn't interpret Ferguson's dissent as opposition to the lawsuit itself, but he believes it's more about the suit's timing. PIRG supports the suit and states it will help farmers and everyone else who believes people should be able to fix their stuff. Proctor added that the first Trump administration's FTC supported the right to repair, and that the matter has been supported by both Democrats and Republicans for years. So, what this sounds like is a stunt on the part of the outgoing Biden office to gum up the works and make Trump look bad. But thankfully, we have a somewhat decent, news outlet here. Now, this sounds a lot like the whole net neutrality issue from a few years ago. Remember that? Remember when Obama imposed rules through the the FTC? Imposing rules that really were not laws, but had the effect of laws, and Trump's man in that organization undid them. The left threw a conniption over that, saying, "Hey, you're signing up with internet service providers and screwing over the little guy." That's not what it was at all. What Obama had done was he breached his authority as a member of the executive branch. The executive branch does not make laws. Congress does. Net neutrality can be a good thing, but it has to go through Congress. It can't go through, the executive branch and the deep state administrative state. So, and if those rules set by Obama would have stayed, it would have set a precedent. Maybe not a precedent, but it would have opened the door to a lot more encroachment by the executive branch that they're not really entitled to. And that would have broken down the Constitution, as we know Obama would have loved, because he's such a criminal psychopath. But my point being is, this is like that. This is probably done for show to appeal to people's emotions, but you got to read the fine print of the suit. So there's that. Two more pieces and then we'll wrap up. This is from the Daily Mail from January 11th. Urgent warning to Americans as key economic indicator hits highest level since the 2008 financial crisis. Daily Mail articles are usually pretty long, but we'll read the main points. U.S. corporate bankruptcies hit their highest level since the 2008 financial crisis as Americans tighten their belts. Companies have also increasingly been grappling with high rising debts driven by high interest rates that cause borrowing costs to spike. In 2024, 686 companies filed for bankruptcy, up 8% from 2023, and almost more than 2021 and 2022 combined. It also marks the most filings since 2010, according to data from the S&P Global Market Intelligence. In addition, last year, more companies tried to avoid bankruptcy through out-of-court actions, with these efforts outnumbering actual bankruptcies 2-1, according to Fitch Ratings. One of the year's biggest bankruptcies came from Party City, which filed for Chapter 11 for the second time in just over a year. The company announced that it would close all 700 stores, blaming inflationary pressures and Americans cutting back on spending. The reasons mirror those of other struggling companies. Other major names like Tupperware, Red Lobster, Spirit Airlines also filed for bankruptcy in 2024. Even popular vodka Stoli filed for bankruptcy in November. The persistently elevated cost of goods and services is weighing on consumer demands, said Gregory Dacko, chief economist at EY, told the Financial Times. He said it was hitting lower income families the most. Bankruptcies on the rise. So you can see the all-time high. So the highest on this chart was in 2010. And you can see 2023 and 2024 are much higher than 2022. 2020 was during COVID. So that's interesting. While the Federal Reserve has started lowering interest rates, relief for businesses will be limited. Forecast suggests only a half-point rate cut in 2025, keeping pressure on struggling companies. That's if we don't audit the Fed and do away with the whole corrupt fiat money system. Fiat money is a killer for the working class. I've mentioned this before. I'm sure you've seen the chart about the split between workers' productivity and workers' wage growth. It all started in the early 70s, and that's exactly when the dollar came off the gold standard. So fiat currency, rather than asset-backed currency or sound money, is the reason why the younger generations are doing so much worse than the boomers. Why the younger generations have a much harder time than the boomers did. We'll skip to the end here. As of December 20th, Coresight Research tracked 48 retail bankruptcies in the U.S. compared with 25 during the same period a year ago. And at least 22 restaurant chains filed for bankruptcy this year, the highest number since 2020, according to bankruptcy data, a company that tracks filings. The highest profile restaurant was Red Lobster, which filed for bankruptcy in May, but emerged as a growing concern after shuttering almost 100 restaurants. BurgerFi, Buca de Beppo, and TGI Fridays also filed for bankruptcy, as did World of Beer, which was one of the fastest growing in the U.S. 10 years ago. The most recent big retail bankruptcy was Container Store, which filed for Chapter 11 protection on December 22nd. There has been no news yet this sentence is not complete. The store, known for its home organizational goods, including closet organizers and storage bins, has been around for 46 years. Despite having a boost from Marie Kondo's hit Netflix TV show Tidying Up during the COVID-19 pandemic, the chain has been weighed down by mounting losses in recent years. Earlier in December, Big Lots said it was going out of business sales at all of its stores across the U.S. after filing for bankruptcy in December. It now hopes to keep 200 open after finding a new investor. So it looks like retail and restaurants are the ones most impacted. So if you're in retail or if you're a restaurant employee, if you're a retail employee or a restaurant employee, if you're a service worker in general, these times are tough. That's why it's so important to invest and start your own business. Freelance if you have to. Drive Uber if you have to. Study the markets. Study the different cryptocurrency projects. Listen to the news influencers, not CNBC or Fox Business, but the real boots on the ground people who are actually doing the work of investing and running a business. Take it from the horse's mouth, not the corporate media, and use your best judgment, use your discernment. Now, that said, like I said, there's a lot of conflicting information, a lot of conflicting opinions A lot of influencers and these in social media users, they like to post controversial topics in order to drive engagement and build their audience. That's some black hat work. Or it could be some, smokescreen to draw out real shady individuals. I'm reminded of Vivek Ramaswamy and Ron DeSantis challenging Trump in the caucus this last year. Like, why would they do that when Trump was legitimately the incumbent, when he had been robbed in 2020? Like, why would anyone go against, Trump then? Especially Ron DeSantis, because he was all on board with MAGA. He's such a great governor. The reason for that was DeSantis and Ramaswamy. I'm not so sure about Ramaswamy, but I'm definitely concerned about DeSantis. They were drawing out the rhinos. They were drawing out the traitors. They were smoking them out. So I'm kind of realizing this now. Some of your conservative influence, some of your MAGA influencers who are supposedly MAGA, they might be posting, controversial stuff to draw out the creeps and the traitors. We've firmly established that the left, the Democrats, are depraved. They're corrupt beyond all recognition. The only hope for them is God Himself to work in their brain, get their minds right. We can pray for them. We can decree and declare that they get saved, but God Himself is the one who's going to do it. The Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. The real problem for us now, and really the real problem for us has always been traitors among the conservative movement, the Republicans. Because Democrats wouldn't have gone as far as they did if they didn't have the Republicans just doing kayfabe or playing the generals to the Democrats' globetrotters. We got to smoke out the traitors, and one way to do that is to say something controversial and draw them out, expose them. So, how do we know who to trust? Well, we trust God. We pray the Psalms and look at people's actions rather than their words. So we'll just kind of move along there. One more post before we wrap up. Like I said, if you find this content valuable, I'm real glad you're sticking with me here. If you've watched this long, thank you. You're real, you're real Chad. If you want to support the program, click on any of the links in the description. If you're watching this on Twitter, click on the resources link in my bio to get to the links. Or go to natehouseman.net and buy some merch. If you find this content valuable, please give it a like, give it a follow, and share it. And we'll close out with this. Back to Twitter, back to Joe Lang, as soon as the page loads. I think this wraps up the whole subject nicely. Joe Lang says, I'd like to point something out that shouldn't be missed. Trump has often been criticized for something by his supporters. I think they might have missed what was really happening. Compare Trump's nominees now going through the confirmation process with the nominees he put up for confirmation in his last term. Can you see the difference? It's almost like night and day. Trump's nominees this time are proving themselves to not only be morally qualified, they all look like serious people on a mission. And they know they're on a mission to completely transform our government. They have one chance. These are all-stars for executing Trump's plans as quickly as possible. And they seem to already know why Trump has hired them. Trump has planned this. For 8 years, I've heard people criticize Trump's first administration for his choices to lead agencies and departments, as if he didn't really know what he was doing. Did Trump purposely plan it that way? Was chaos a great cover? Most people don't contemplate the possibility that it was purposeful. Look weak when you are strong, said Sun Tzu. Art of War. Trump accomplished what he needed to in his first term in order to set the table for his second term that we are about to witness. plan was always to use his first term to expose the enemy, including those embedded within our military and intelligence communities. Along with many rhinos in government and the media, the plan was always to allow himself to become a target for impeachment and prosecution, so that the American people would wake up to the corruption within our government and also our justice system. It was the biggest sting operation in history. That whole first term, he purposely allowed himself to look weak and on the defensive. He was constantly under attack from the media. But there were things happening in the background that weren't getting much attention. Trump was giving cover so the media wouldn't focus on the important stuff. He gladly took all the slings and arrows. His Department of Justice was conducting nationwide criminal investigations from the beginning that were launched by Jeff Sessions. Trump flipped the courts, which was critical. Trump passed the biggest tax cuts in history and slashed regulations for small businesses, knowing the American people would need help surviving 4 years of Biden. Trump built the wall and rebuilt the military. He got rid of the bad trade deals and renegotiated others. All of these were huge accomplishments, even with a group of people in his administration who seemed to be trying their best to prevent him from succeeding. Even with the resistance in his first term, he accomplished great things. He set the table. But now it's time to get to business. It's finally time to transform this government completely and restore the Constitution and justice. Now, there won't be any resistance within his administration. Now, he's about to wield the full power of the presidency, and even Congress will offer a little resistance. And because of that, and because of what he went through over the last 8 years, and what Biden's done, the American people are demanding transformation. Military planning at its finest. Everything has been planned. Things will move faster than they ever have in our history. But give Trump some credit. We had a lot of people in his first administration that we didn't like. But maybe he had a specific reason for nominating them. Maybe they served a specific purpose. Trump knew how the system in D.C. works, and I believe he planned to deal with it from the minute he was inaugurated. We're about to witness history in the making. So, of all the humans on this planet we can trust, Trump is probably the most, with it. We saw him survive an assassination attempt by the grace of God, which means God is with him. So we can trust him. Whether we can trust the influencers around him, the internet trolls, the rhinos, the Republicans, who knows? A lot of them are walking a tightrope act, and a lot of them are serving a purpose behind the scenes that we don't know about. The white hats are allowed to have secrets. The deep state, the enemy, is not. So, as we close in on inauguration, I'm not sure whether I'll cover inauguration because I'm not sure I'll be available, but I definitely want to watch it. So, if any of my favorite YouTubers want to stream it, I'll probably be on there and chatting up the peanut gallery. But I'm going to try to make these streams a regular Tuesday and Thursday night thing, work permitting. First week of February, I might not. Well, starting January 27th, I'm going to start a CDL class. I'm going to go for my Class B commercial driver's license, and that's going to take up some time. So I might not be able to do these at the times I normally do, but life gets in the way. Life happens, but I want to be more serious about my content here because I don't want to be just some internet troll and just some regular media influencer. I want to have some integrity here and offer you some really good information. So with that, I will let you go. Like I said, if you find this kind of valuable, please like, share, and subscribe. I'm a houseman, letting you know, more than ever, it's okay to stand up for yourself and pray Psalm 91. Over and out.